Yes, good morning. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV, or good evening, or good afternoon. First of all, apologies for this. This is what happens when you're about to go and get your hair cut and you haven't got no product in your hair. You look like an absolute... Yeah, I look like one of them. I am joined by two people, though, that have lovely hair in different ways. Big up to Chris B, a big up to Lubo. How are we doing, chaps? And happy Christmas. Is it too early for that?
Last day of work, off till the 5th of January, roll on 4 o'clock.
Short but sweet.
Unfortunately, I've got a visit to Tottenham against Liverpool tomorrow, so that's really going to probably ruin the Christmas period for me.
Oh, is that not a Christmas present? Is that more of a Scrooge?
Yeah.
Oh dear, Lubo, still working?
A few bits and pieces still to do, which will take me a little, small amount of time. Pretty much, it's all intents and purposes, pretty much finished for Christmas, bar a few bits. So here we are, and a good couple of weeks off. 3 games.
Yes.
Lots
yeah.
of fun.
Well, I'll tell you who is
in those 3 games.
Oh, hang on. We'll get into how many points from those 3 games. But I'm telling you, somebody that hasn't got Christmas off is Paratici and Lang. They do not have Christmas off. I'm not their boss, but I am pulling rank. I want those two not celebrating any form of Christmas with their families. I want to know what we're doing in the window. We're going to get into it. And we're going to try and make this show. Good morning to each and every one of you out there. And we're going to try and make this show. I want to be the first content creator for the last month that isn't going to have a show where we talk constantly about Postecoglou. Guys, I am bored to death of it. He is not the manager anymore. We have moved on. I really wish that Spurs content creators could move on from Ange. This is a new era. Let's move on. Chris, I'm going to start with you. The premise of this show is I'm going to bring up a few pictures and stuff that I've screenshots that I've taken in regards to some transfer rumors, some links, some of which will be true, some of which the press love this time of year, and as do we as fans. But Chris, in terms of what Spurs can attract, I see a lot of, it doesn't matter, YouTubers, Instagram, X, wherever Spurs fans are, and we all talk about the caliber of player that we want at this football club, Chris. Realistically, in your opinion, do we have to take a little bit of a step backwards and realise that there is going to be a limit as to the caliber of player that joins this club? Or are you of the opinion that money talks and you can just buy whoever you want if you stump it up?
It's one of those where people will often think we should be able to pursue and get the top stars, but people who have genuine ambition to win things will look at the state of the club and say thanks but no thanks. But equally, we remain a financial powerhouse. We are led to believe that the purse strings will be relaxed a little in respect of wages and potential transfer fees. So there's nothing that shouldn't stop us being able to go out there and sign genuine quality. And footballers are fickle individuals. They're driven by the money. So their love and loyalty can go out the window when they see a few extra pound signs floating in front of their eyes. So realistically, there's nothing stopping us competing, but there's always going to be that battle. For instance, Semenyo, there's people saying, oh, be aggressive, you'll go out and get him. If we go in with Liverpool, there's only one destination, and it's Liverpool based on footballing success alone. So there's going to be those battles you lose, but that shouldn't stop you at least trying to be ambitious and trying to be bold and trying to sign those better players as opposed to the scattergun approach that we've embraced over recent years.
Yeah. I mean, Lubo, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think Chris has hit the nail on the head. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious and there's nothing wrong with trying to approach these players. But I think you might disagree with me, Lubo, but I think the quality of players in 2025 isn't just nowhere near what it has been for previous decades. And it seems like everyone now is going after the same players because there's such little quality. What level are we in terms of competing, Lubo? Because I'm going to show you this, right? So this was by James Ducker at the Telegraph. And he's not told us anything that we don't already know. We know that Man U, Spurs, Liverpool and Man City all want Semenyo. Now he's saying that Man United are in the hunt and they're hoping that the uncertainty with Guardiola's future, even though that's half away, might make Man U a good destination. Then he's saying Spurs and Liverpool also in the mix. Can we compete with, let's use those three clubs for a player like Semenyo? Have we got anything that says to him, you know what, forget those winning football clubs. This is where you want to be for your big move and for your next 5 years?
Ooh. Semenyo or players generally?
I mean, Semenyo in this occasion, but generally, I suppose it's the same thing, right?
Semenyo, start with him. You would think that if Salah goes either in January or in the summer, which you would think so. I think although he came back and there was an olive branch and peace talks, I think behind the scenes they're saying, long term this is not a viable situation. I think you would think Liverpool would come in and pick up Semenyo. In terms of players generally, I think it all depends what age they are, if they've got a family, if the family is settled. If you're picking up a player, if you're going after a player in London, if the family, if they got kids at schools, they don't, the wife doesn't want to be sort of moved up north, for argument's sake. All depends. It all depends. There's many variables. I think Spurs are offering proper, better money now. We've seen from Xavi Simons on 195, Kudus 160, Palini is over 100 as well, and so is Moani. So I don't think wages is going to be an issue going forward. I think it's just the attractiveness and both in terms of footballing ambition and also in terms of location. So I think that's where we are.
I mean, because it's interesting, right? And I was having this chat with my uncle yesterday, and we were saying that as much as football fans, right, we know about Liverpool, we know about City, right? And I'm of the opinion that if those clubs truly want a player we're going in for, I don't think we've got any pull over those two clubs. I genuinely don't. We talk about London, but Man United, Man City, Liverpool, these clubs have been buying top players for years. It's never seemed to stop anybody not going to London. But Man United are the interesting one in here, Chris, right? Because as much as we all talk, don't we, as fan bases, Man United have gone, they're not what they were. This isn't the Man United under Ferguson. They still have big pull. And I still don't think we've got the pull that Man United have. Now, whether that's warranted on the pitch or whether that's the name and the aura of the football club, it throws another spanner in the works. Man U, Spurs, City and Liverpool all going after Semenyo. I just can't see it. I cannot see how we get.
If you compare the trophy cabinets, two of those clubs will give you an overview of what success really looks like. Yes, we're built on strong financial foundations and footings. Yes, we've got a phenomenal stadium, but we haven't really done it for a number of years on the pitch. And there's a difference between financial strength and historic standing in the game and recent success, and they both blow us away. So if you were going there like Mbeumo, we could have been in for him financially. It wouldn't have been a problem, but he had his heart set on United, and he'd grown up watching the Ferguson era, and it was success, success, success. So we're in the jet streams of those clubs, and this is the challenge we will have when it comes to that. These people are very well paid. One move can set them up for life if they're sensible. So it comes a point where if you want to fulfill your potential for winning stuff, that other clubs may be a more attractive proposition.
Yeah. I mean, Destiny, you could say this, mate, but they do sign top class players. If you look down the years, even when they've not been doing well, they've signed Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Bastian Schweinsteiger. They've brought in whatever you think of him now. They managed to go and get Casemiro from Real Madrid. They've just signed them Mbeumo and Cunha, mate. I feel like this is heart over head. Lubo, I guess the question is, with that in mind, a lot of the players I've seen that we're linked with, and again, as a YouTuber, so to speak, I'm not stupid enough to believe everything I read, Lubo. But we are after Gallagher, apparently, and we are after Ruben Neves, apparently, and we are after Semenyo. United are linked with all those players. Liverpool are linked with those players. Chelsea. Is this going to have to be a case of smart recruitment rather than the obvious? Like Semenyo's the obvious right now, but is this going to have to be a case of smart recruitment and really going out there and finding gems?
I think, yes, it's got to be smart recruitment. I think our recruitment has been poor for some time, pretty much. Not all the players, but overall. I think that there's a certain level of player we can compete with. There are certain players that the big clubs won't need because the positions are well stocked. We need midfield players. Arsenal don't. Newcastle don't. Villa don't. City don't. So midfield players we should be able to go in, hopefully, and Chelsea don't. So we should be able to go and find some top midfield players. I mean, one that comes to mind is Edison at Atalanta.
Well,
for me,
that's an interesting point, Lubo. The other one from Atlanta that I discussed with you this morning, Savva, was Charles de Ketelaere or whatever it is.
Yes.
In Belgium. It'd be breathtaking for Tottenham.
Yeah. We don't seem to do that, though, do we? We don't, and this is what I mean, guys. I always get accused of, Savva thinks we can just sign who we want. I'm the opposite. I think, Lubo, you stream with me most days. That's not where I am with this. I want us to really look across Europe and have a look at some of these players, like Chris has said, de Ketelaere, like an Edison. If you look across Europe, there are players everywhere that aren't worldies, might not be known by people that don't watch football outside the Premier League. I just want us to be sensible, Lubo. I just want us to follow in the footsteps of Villa and Newcastle at this stage. I know we want to be City and Liverpool, but first and foremost, can we just be sensible, bring in some proper footballers and have a solid, stable structure and then kick on from there? That's all I want. And
with the recent form that Vicario's shown, we've heard snippets and we've heard rumours about Ter Stegen from Barcelona. Every day of the week for me, it's an no-brainer. What is he, 32, 33? We know goalkeepers can play longer. Remember when we brought in Brad Friedel, when Aurelio Gomez was having the wobbles and Redknapp came in, brought him in 2 or 3 seasons. He didn't put a foot wrong. So for me, it's all about strong spines. And if we can address the spine with the goalkeeper, perhaps we've got the centre-backs, we've got this Vuskovic, which many are making waves about. And then if we can sort out the middle of the park and then get that centre forward, that spine's there. So if he comes in, thanks very much for the memories. Vicario, Van der Ven kept it out in the final to spare you any blushes. Off you go back to Italy or wherever else you fancy.
But isn't that worrying though, Chris? Like I completely agree with you. I was always brought up when talking to my elders about football, about spines. Right? Yeah. And I don't mean my spine. Nothing wrong with my spine, but actually, the amount I slump in this seat, there probably is a lot wrong with my spine. But when you look at some of the teams, the great teams down the years, Chris, they've always had a good spine. And when I look at Spurs' spine at the moment, okay, we can say Van der Ven and Romero are a good centre-back pairing. But then you look down the rest of it. You've got Vicario, who I don't rate. I'm sorry. I've tried to be polite and call him average. I think he's awful. You've got Vicario. You've then got nothing in midfield for a spine. Simmons, who, again, needs time and we'll see as he develops and grows. And then no top centre forward. So that spine is absolutely non-existent. And then what we've done with that is gone, well, we'll have 2 wing-backs playing at full-back, right? And we've got 1 right winger and no left winger. So when you look at the spine of our team, you are absolutely right. And this is why I really want someone like Conor Gallagher. And Spurs fans berate me for it. But that's a strong man, a character, a leader, a workhorse, great engine. That, for me, is where we should be looking.
You look at... I'll give you a few examples. Remember when you had Bruce and Pallister playing centre-back for United, and then in front of them you had Ince, and then behind him you had Schmeichel. Or when you went over to Arsenal, Seaman in goal, and you had centre-backs of, God forbid, Campbell. And you always had, and then in midfield you had your Vieira's and your Emmanuel Petit. And then you went over to Chelsea and you had John Terry playing alongside LeBouf, and then in front of Makaleli or somebody. You always had strong teams, and that's what we've lacked. We've lacked that spine. We've lacked men in a men's game. We've got very effeminate, very soft, very mediocre players, and this whole leadership team group, I think, is pathetic. There's no place for it in professional football. You should have senior pros who run the changing room and act as role models to the younger guys. You'd never get a leadership in rugby on the rugby pitch. It would just be unheard of. Yeah.
I mean, Lubo, it is in, Chris is right. It's about a spine. And when I talk about, and the reason why I'm so bored about the whole manager in, manager out conversation, Lubo, is because genuinely it doesn't matter who the manager of this club is. There's so much work to do. It doesn't really affect my life, your life, or Chris's life, whether or not it's Thomas Frank in the dugout or it's Glasner or it's Xavi. They're going to need footballers. They're going to need good players. If Tottenham, for example, we're hearing there are lots of reports again that we want Conor Gallagher and that now would be able to get the deal done because he's not coming directly from Chelsea. But also that Man United, who are a team desperately looking to change their midfield, are also after him. Do you think somebody like a Gallagher, one, could we get him? And two, I know he's not a creative, sexy footballer that, you know what I mean? But do you think that's desperately the type of player that we need, the type of character and leader that we need within this football club?
He's an England international.
That will help as well. If he's not getting the playing time that he needs as well in Madrid, then that's another reason for him to leave. Will he come to Spurs? His family at Chelsea, all his close friends at Chelsea. I suppose he's got to put professional reasoning before the reasoning of a fan, thoughts of a fan. So maybe he'd be a good signing. He'd be one of several we need. I think maybe if we can get two in during January minimum, and then look to the summer. This is a 4, 5, 6 window job to get this squad, whoever the manager is, to get this squad up to speed, to get it back to where we were in the middle of the last decade, where when Poch came in and then he brought Toby, Sonny and Dele in for that 2015-16 season. We need to get back to there, keep building, keep moving out players who are not good enough, keep bringing in better players. I think it's a question now of just improving the first team. I think that can be the only criteria now. We got kids.
That's got to be the short-term goal, right?
It can only be a short-term goal. Long-term, we've got the kids. Got plenty of kids. We've got some very good kids coming through. I think 2 or 3, maybe 4 will come through over the next 3 or 4 years. We don't need the kids. We just need established players now.
And that's where you've hit the nail on the head, Lubo. We need to continue to clear out, which we've been historically terrible at. We hang on to people for 3 or 4 years. Like we've heard murmurings in recent days that Brennan Johnson potentially linked with Crystal Palace. Let go of him. He's not a good enough player to be at Tottenham.
I agree.
And I don't say that we think we're a bigger club than him. Every time I've seen him play, he's looked like a rabbit in headlights, and I've never seen him as a winger drop his shoulder and go on the outside before cutting back on the inside. He looks afraid. And if we could get 30, 35 million for him, do it, because it gives you finance to reinvest, and it also gives you a wage to disseminate. And then the whole Ben Davis, a solid pro. I've got no problems with him. I think he handles himself very well. But he's 33, 34 years of age. He's been he's been at Tottenham longer than the current stadium has. So you need to get rid of him.
Davis's fee, Chris, whatever that was, has probably been written off, down. So it's probably 0 now. In terms of Johnson, whatever loss we incur, be it 10, 15, 20, 25 million, he's more than covered that loss with his goal in the final that took us into the Champions League, with the Champions League money. So again, we would have made, in effect, we would have made money on Johnson.
And I know we've only recently given him a new contract, but for me, Bentancur, since the ACL injury, when he was playing under Conte, he was contributing 6-7 goals. He went on a little goal scoring run, but he's not the future of Tottenham Football Club. He's a very average player. And again,
Chris, I don't think he was signed on. I don't think the new contract was about long term, though. I think it was probably
protecting the asset.
The asset. So I could be wrong on that, but I think that the difficulty that we've got here is, when I watch other fan bases talk, when I watch Arsenal or City or Liverpool or Chelsea United, they always talk about there's 2 or 3 that need to go, or this is. Do you know what I mean? When we talk, it's literally like, well, most can go. And that for me shows you the fact that none of us seem to be able to know an 11. The fact that we don't have a good striker at this. We could talk about Mawani all we like. Let's be brutally honest. This is not a top striker. He's a good footballer. He's not a top goal scorer. We've got no good left winger. The midfield is, and again, I feel really sorry for the likes of Bergvall and Gray, because if Bergvall and Gray had joined a Chelsea or a City or a Liverpool, they would have been bought in, shipped out on loan for a couple of seasons, or be getting 10, 15 minutes. We're having to play them because we've got no midfielders, right? It's such a badly put together squad, Chris. For me, Lubo is right.
Put Archie Gray in week out alongside an Enzo or a Moses Caicedo, and he will be made to look better because he's playing alongside genuine top players at the moment.
But those top clubs still don't do that, right, Chris? Like those top clubs aren't buying 18-year-olds and going, go on, just play with a top player. They're bringing them on. They come on for 10, 15, if that. Let's be brutally honest, right? Chelsea tend to bring in these young players, and I use Chelsea as the example because on yesterday's show, we actually looked at Chelsea in the summer sold 14 footballers, right, for cash. They got 15, Chris. 15 players were sold in the summer and 2 went on frees. Now, that is a club that have gone, now, listen, I'm not condoning Chelsea. I don't support Chelsea, but that is a club that have gone, we don't need these players. These players aren't going to take us where we want to go. Right. Scouting, and they've got 4 people in charge of recruitment at Chelsea, if I'm not wrong, from what I last heard. They've got 4 people dealing with the ins and outs. Right? So they've got 4 people, all window, going, right, we've got these 3 sales that are going on at the same time as these 2 purchases. They've got stuff going on all window, Chris. Spurs go, right, well, we've got Morgan Gibbs-White, the situation's going on. Right, nothing else is happening at the football club for 3-4 weeks. Why that happens. But Chelsea find homes for them. Chelsea find homes all over the world. They sell them on, some for profit, some not. They move them out, and they bring new players in. We just don't do that.
You remember that Albanian lad, Borja?
Yeah, Borja.
£20 million from Burnley, and he couldn't hit a barn door. He's got so few minutes. It's unreal. And they bought him and that Leslie Amachuku or something, the central midfielder. Yeah, they got big money for the pair of them collectively.
But they actively, as a club, this isn't a spare of the moment to sell 17 footballers. They've actively gone out and gone, these players don't fit into our plans. Find them homes. You 2 over here, find new players. And at the moment, have you noticed whenever we talk about players could leave Spurs, look how protected they are, 1, by the fan base, and 2, look how slow we are at getting them out from the board and the directors and whoever is selling them. We hold on to them. We want too much money for them. And then what happens at the end of every window? A couple of them go out on loan and we kick the can down the road to the next season. We've got to start running this club properly. Otherwise, this whole manager in-out conversation is just really going to be inconsequential. It really is.
Well, I think, Sam, in terms of getting rid of players, I think in terms of taking, wiping your mouth and taking a loss, I think we saw what Spurs did with Ndombele. They paid up his contract. They took a bath on that. I mean, the overall cost for transfer. His transfer was 54, and his wages were 52. So that's 106 million for barely a handful of proper decent performances.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst pound for pound transfer I think Spurs have ever had.
Yep.
I think quite possibly, don't know, maybe Richarlison is the next. But we've got to, in terms of recruitment, we've got to buy better players, spend better money, but not make that. All big clubs make mistakes. Arsenal spent 72 on Pepe. United spent 85 on Anthony, who was a good player but not suited to the UK, to the Prem. They do make, clubs do make expensive mistakes. For me, Pogba, United went back and bought him a second time for 93 million, and for me that was the biggest waste of money going. Not because he didn't have talent, because he didn't have the mental toughness needed to bring about the consistency. He was all over the place, and that showed in his performances. But we need to be spending bigger money on better players that are gonna give you more consistent performances than what we're getting from players now. We're a mid-table team, that unfortunately is the reality of it, and that's down to we haven't improved one position, not one position that we have where we've replaced Poch's 11 from 2017. Not one position.
Well, let's have a look at this. First of all, what is another harsh
We've
reality?
gone backwards, haven't we? We've weakened our side significantly
That's right.
from that great team we once had.
Well, so this is the team we're talking about. By the way, 42 likes, guys. I hardly ask these days for likes, but 42. Come on, let's sort this out. This is the team that we're talking about, right? This is the team that we're talking about, and everything we've talked about today so far, right? We've talked about spines, we've talked about real men, we've talked about strength, we've talked about quality. This team had all of that. This team, didn't it? It had absolutely the right mixture of all of that throughout the team. You then compare that to the 11 we saw start versus Nottingham Forest, and I think anybody that looks at this squad and still says things like we should be top 4 needs to really give their head a wobble and realise just how far we've fallen. Now, I'm going to show you this, right? This is going to show you over the years. This is Tottenham, right? This is we're looking at the right-hand column, right? And I'm going to go back 5 years. Look how few players actually get sold. Now, this is a really important part. I know as football fans, we only care about the shiny toys coming in, but you've got to sell players for 2 reasons, right? And I'm sorry to state the obvious, gentlemen, but you've got to sell players for 2 reasons. 1, you free up wages, right? And 2, and the most important thing is you free up squad spaces, right? And this is the problem. If you look at this, in this window just gone, Spurs have managed to sell 3 players on a permanent. 1 we knew was going for a few years, which was Son, right? And that player wasn't replaced. The other was Højbjerg, who that fee, if I'm not wrong, was agreed the previous summer with Marseille, right? And the other was Brian Hill, if I'm not wrong, in the last week of the window, right? Or whatever it was. Yeah. So Tottenham Hotspur, in the entirety of the summer window, managed to sell 2 players, Hill and Son, because Højbjerg had been sold the year before. That is absolutely atrocious for a Premier League football club that call themselves Champions League. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's only 1 window, Savva. Cool. Well, let's have a look at the departures the year before. Look at that. Right? What's that? 23 million, 39, 50, 55 million euros. So what's that? About 48 million quid? 47 million quid? Right?
48 million.
Right. On Joe Rodon, who hadn't played for the club for years. Right? Oliver Skip, who was no longer... Look at the state of it, right? You then go back the year before. Right? And if you take out Harry Kane as the anomaly, look at this. No one's leaving. Look how few footballers are leaving this football club. Look, you can go back the year before. Look, 2. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who never played for us, and Steven Bergwijn. This is atrocious.
So if you're talking about players who are going out for fees as against the total number of players that are leaving. There's been plenty of players that have gone, particularly summer before last, but not many that were getting money.
But all of those ones that we didn't get a lot of money for, Lubo, or that went on a free, is because we held on to them for 4, 5, 6 years. Well, yeah. So Ndombele and Lo Celso, right? Champions League final. Let me take you back to the Champions League final. If I'm not wrong, that summer we signed Jack Clark, Ndombele, Lo Celso, and Ryan Sessegnon, right?
Yeah, 130 million.
Forget Jack Clark as a youngster, another youngster that was going to be the greatest fit. No doubt Lubo was loving Jack Clark when we signed him, telling the world he was going to be Messi, right? But Ndombele, Sessegnon, and Lo Celso, if I'm not wrong, gentlemen, between them had 15 seasons at Tottenham Hotspur, and between them hardly played and gave us nothing, right? But they were all Spurs players for 5 years. Chelsea, United, City, Arsenal, they would not do that. They would not let those 3 players sit at this club for 5 years. Would they?
Well, listen, we had a chairman that wanted to get his money back on all of them. You know, that was looking to sell high and buy low. That's gone now. So that's why I'm confident. I'm more optimistic now that the transfer windows are going to be better, both ins and outs. We'll be paying proper money, proper wages, but buying better players, and also selling players at the right time. I think that the club have got to be more ruthless, rather and take a hit. If a player's not gonna make it, then he gets moved on. You know, it's as Dan says, it is a dog eat dog world, and if a player's not good enough, you've got to move him on, and you've got to bring in a player who is good enough. Otherwise, you're never going to be successful. I keep saying this is a big club, and we've got to start we've got to get ourselves back. And it's probably 3 years, I would think, until we're competing properly on a regular level with the top clubs with a good squad. I think it's going to take us that long to become sustainable.
But that same assessment about moving players on, look at some of the junk that we've got out on loan across the country. You've got, remember Donnelly, who we were being told, he's this, that. He had a good loan on at Leyton Orient. I know you guys went and checked him out. He's not kicked a ball at Stoke. He can't even get on their suspension match day basis. They're seeing something there, which is saying to Mark Robbins, who's no mug, he knows football, has done well with Coventry, now doing relatively well with Stoke, and won things at United. He doesn't think enough of him to get him on their subs bench. Ashley Phillips, he's like a boomerang. He just keeps on returning.
But, you know, it's funny. Robin started off well, and he's been going down. I'm gobsmacked that he hasn't thrown. Donnelly hasn't played since September.
No. And then you've got the South Korean lad, Hyung Yuk Mi, or whatever his name is.
But he's losing most weeks now, Chris. He's losing most weeks, and he still won't put him in. That's pure pride, intransigence, and arrogance.
Hang on.
Doesn't want to be proved wrong, so he's not going to give him a chance.
Or he's not good enough. Or and this is the thing, right? This is the thing when we look at, especially you, Lubo. You look at this loan from a Spurs perspective because you rate Donnelly. Right? Yeah. There must be a reason why lots of players at Stoke are being given games and Donnelly isn't. And I fail to believe that it's arrogance, because there are 2 players in front of Donnelly. Now, whether or not it was a bad loan move is a different question. But Mark Robbins was saying he's going like that. Stoke weren't favoured to be a top team this season in the league. So they were actually in a relegation battle last year. Yeah. They were in a relegation battle last year, so they're actually punching above their weight. But look, the point is, Chris's point is true. When you actually look, right, if we bring that back up, you can see some of them there. You've got Valise. He's out on loan. Moore. So Yang, Devine,
friend's a season ticket holder at Oxford, and he's saying Will Lancashire, just not good enough at championship level. He's not even getting game time. He's sitting on the bench again. Yet this is somebody, as we've seen so often with our enthusiastic, carried away fan base, was labelled as generational baller. What a talent! Yet he's getting game time and he's not taking his chances.
Chris, I always come out with a stat, right? That this stat is Lubo's nemesis, right? That 0.012% of youth players make it in the game, right?
That's the reality.
It is the reality. But we think, like this year alone, do you know what I've heard, Chris? Not from Lubo, from Jenny. This year alone, every time Lancashire scores a tap-in for Oxford, I hear, well, maybe Lancashire should be back because we're struggling up front. Will Lancashire up front for Tottenham would get eaten alive. Like he would get absolutely eaten alive. Then you hear, oh, Vuskovic is doing well. Maybe he should okay, cool. We'll go with that as well. All right. God, Divine's playing well for Preston this year. Maybe look at what happened, Chris, earlier this year. Yang at hang on, just quickly, dude, we're having a lovely conversation staged about football. Please, I don't want to block anyone. Please just calm down. We're just having a nice chat about football. Can you just calm down, please? All right. That's all I ask. Everyone else in the chat has been very good today. And then you come in and just relax. All right. Yeah, Chris, Yang had a good spell of 4 or 5 games earlier in the window.
Well, 2 goals in 2 games and people got carried away.
And everyone started doing the same thing they always do. I'm like, the videos keep getting sent to me. Have you seen this goal? Have you seen this move? And I'm like, what are we doing? Are we Tottenham or are we Portsmouth? Like, are we judging Port? And every time Mikey Moore scores a goal, somebody sends me a clip of Mikey Moore drifting past a Kilmarnock defender. Okay, brilliant. What do you want me to do with this? So for me, I think a lot of these youngsters need to be moved on as well, Chris. We're talking about the season pros. A lot of these kids aren't good enough, and we won't admit it.
The next one will be Melia Mason. There'll be people telling us, oh, we don't need to sign a centre forward as we've got this young kid coming in from Ireland who's setting the world on fire.
Exactly.
And that's our approach. We've just got to clear the decks and we've got to stop hanging on for hope that something might come good. And we've got to go for the established, mature. We've got to go for the now options as opposed to... Yeah. So I text you when I was travelling back from London on the train the other evening. We were linked with some German winger from Köln, FC Köln or something. Never heard of him. Yeah, went straight to Google. Guess what? 19 years of age. We've been there. That's no different to the Odebear approach. That's not what we need. We need established players.
Go on, Lubo.
If, by the way, I've just seen TalkSport just flashed up. City have opened talks with Semenya to try and get the lead.
There you go. That'll get done.
Get in front of his rivals.
And this is why when everyone tells me just pay the money, Lubo, you can't just pay the money. This is not how... I'll argue this with anyone. As I said, so my mate Chris, not Chris B, my mate Chris is a football agent, right? And he's worked in football management consultancy. He's a football agent. And he always messages me and he's like, he always says it's hilarious when I watch your shows and I see these people that just say, put the money down. He said they would not understand the complexities of getting a football transfer done. He said, don't you think every football club in the country would get every target they want if it was as simple as just putting the money down? And Semenyo, I think, will prove it. Eze proved it. Spurs put the money down in the end. In the end, they did. And Arsenal on the same day went, no, we'll put the money down. See you later. Boom. There is a hierarchy, Lubo, whether we like it or not. There are a hierarchy of football clubs. And unfortunately, we are not at the top of that hierarchy. Unfortunately. I think
Semenya burst on big time, bigger than ever, with that solo goal at Anfield on the first day of the season.
Sure.
Everybody went, wow. We missed the opportunity last summer to go and buy him. The opportunity was there. Spurs offered, like United, Spurs offered 50 million. I think Bournemouth wanted upwards from 70. Spurs should have gone and bought him. Full stop. Son had gone. He needed replacing. Spurs had the opportunity there. If they'd have gone in maybe with 75 million, 80 million, Bournemouth would have said, okay, we're not going to turn that sort of money down for a club of our size, of our turnover as well. So for me, we had the chance to buy him. We didn't take it.
It's not the first time, though, is it? Look at all that time we were looking at Alex Scott, a boyhood Tottenham fan at Bristol City, and we let that one pass us by. And he walks into our midfield every game now. He'd be better than anything in the middle that we've come from.
Yeah, and there are reports that we're looking at him as well.
But then we've been monitoring all these people that we've failed to take a chance on. We did it with Jared Bowen when he was at Hull, was it?
Yeah.
Ollie Watkins when he was at Exeter. Pleat told us about so many years gone by, but we passed them by, and then we go and sign random Valisas who are just complete speculative punts that you never go see in a Spurs shirt, and you think, what was the point of it when there's homegrown talent right in front of us that we're blinded to?
Chris, do you know what I've said? And I said this to you the other day, Lubo, didn't I? If in this next 2 windows, more leeway for January, but if in January and the summer, Spurs go and buy more kids that we've never heard of, that fans pretend are the next big thing because they've seen them on Football Manager or FIFA.
Yeah.
My stance, Chris, is I then don't care who the manager of this football club is, because it will show that it doesn't matter. You can go and get Ryan Mason for all I care. If all we're going to do is sign 19 and 18-year-olds, then it really doesn't matter what manager is in charge of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
I don't see us doing that, Sav. I honestly don't see us doing that. I think it's very clear. It's very clinical how you've got to look at it. You just got to look at the first team. You've got to look at how we're playing, with the amount of games where we've had 8 games pretty much where we just haven't shown up. So for me, you've got to look at your first team 11, then look at cover for each of those players, see what you've got, and then go from there. There's no point buying a 19-year-old. I think the only one I would get, who I think is probably going to be pure class, is the boy from Leipzig. But apart from that, I think you've just got to go and get around the pitch. We need about.
You're looking at 60, 78 million.
We need 12, 15 players. So if we get one from Leipzig and we get 11 to 14 top established or better established players, then for me, we've had good windows.
Is this the winger? Is this the winger, the left-sided winger, the African guy?
Yeah.
Again.
The whole of Europe's going to be looking at him.
Well, but you're paying for potential, aren't you?
You're
been there before, and we're all, this is the next big thing, and it's never come good. Like when we signed Ndombele, he was at Lyon, wasn't he? Yeah, and he was lighting up, and everybody was saying, this is the guy, and that didn't work out. I just think, you remember all those years ago, we went after that absolute Portuguese sensation, Helder Postiga. I think he scored 2 goals in his whole career, and he came in this flamboyant playboy of Portuguese football, and we were there at the old White Hart Lane thinking, this guy's got something. He was terrible.
But Chris, do you know the difference? And this is where, I don't disagree with Lubo, but at the same time as 100% disagreeing with him. Make of that what you will. I think if Tottenham Hotspur had a proper first 11 and 4 or 5 really good, strong squad players behind that, I'm all for going and getting a Diamonde and going, all right, we'll nurture you in. The problem is, when we're saying the whole of Europe are looking at him, right? You've got Man City could bring in Diamonde. They don't have to rely on him. No. Right? Man City can bring him on and go, well, we've got Cherki, Foden, Silva, Marmoush, Doku, Bob. So Diamond can play 15 minutes here. There's no pressure. We're talking about we need players for now. So if you bring in Diamond, he goes straight into the team at the age of 19. And then what happens is, Lubo, everybody who really wanted him then starts doing, but he's only young. When it doesn't work, it's, but he's only young. He needs years. So we're very different to these other clubs. Liverpool could bring in Diamond. He wouldn't be a main man there. He would be a young player coming through. At Spurs, he'd be bought as the main man. Yeah. And until we address this, we're going to struggle.
So where we are at a disadvantage is that we need more players than these clubs you just mentioned. And the thing is that if you want to buy a specific player, you've got to, when that opportunity comes up, you've got to strike. You cannot miss it, like we missed Semenya in the summer. And that's the problem. If you don't buy when you've got the opportunity,
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
the opportunity comes up, the opportunity is not going to come up when it suits Tottenham. You know, don't worry, keep him there for 2 or 3 years. We'll buy him then when we bought another 12 established players. That's not how it works. So you've got to buy these players. If you fancy these players strongly, you've got to buy them. And the problem is that it may mean that it takes a fraction longer to get to where you want to get to, but providing you get there in the end, it's how you finish the journey. So for me, it's not about now, it's about building, because we are years off building that, getting that squad back.
But we started the beginning of the show saying that it is about now. The thing is, if we keep building for the future, we're never building for now.
I'm not saying that.
Hang on.
I said one player. I said one player out of 12, 15 players.
I know. Okay, but let's use Diamonde as the example. That Diamonde, RB Leipzig are going to want 70, 80 million pounds for this kid, right?
Yeah.
We're Tottenham Hotspur. With that 70, 80 million pounds, go and buy 2 well-established Premier League or seasoned pros that come in and make our 11 better, and we can worry about super kids down the line. But again, we've got fans going, I'd buy this one. Lubo, how many games you watch this kid play to say that he's the one you'd go and get? How many times you watch this kid play?
All the reports have been
never heard of him a month ago. Never heard of him.
He's been amazing. I know. For me,
this is the problem, Lubo. A player you didn't know 3 weeks ago is now worth 70, 80 million of our budget at 19 years of age. We're not learning.
No, we're not. But for me, Sav, it shouldn't be one or the other. It shouldn't be two.
Of course it should.
No, it shouldn't, because we've got the money to buy all 3. That's
why.
No, we haven't. Lubo, we have got a squad.
Haven't?
Okay, but Lubo, we have got a squad that needs about 15, 20 players put into it, right? Of those 15, 20 players, where on earth does a 19-year-old who's played one less... Do you know what? He's played about 22 senior games of football. Where on earth does that... Hang on. Where on earth does that fall into the priority? And again, this is what we do. We talk about, right, hope these owners are serious, hope these owners want to act. And then one of the first things we want them to do is whack down 70, 80 million pounds on a 19-year-old winger who no one knew 3 weeks ago. Like, that isn't that exactly what we've done for the last 10, 15 years? And it's failed. Isn't this everything we do? Jack Clark's amazing. Didn't work. Yeah. How many have we done this with? Brian Hill, Jack Clark. We're doing it now with Gray and with Bergvall. Vuskovic is now the big hope. We're doing it with, we got Yang, we got Valise, we just keep doing this.
Hit and hope with, and you've got to say, some of the signings that Paratici's made in the past haven't been great. And my fear is, have we got the right people in the key positions when it comes to bringing players into the club? You look at the gangster rapper Pierluigi Gallini, or whatever he was, one of the worst goalkeepers ever, or the speculative pump for Emerson Royal, and some of the complete dross that man's overseen coming into the club. So unless we change our ways and bring in that maturity for the next 2 seasons or so, we're going to be no further forward than we have been for the last 4 or 5 years.
Chris, look at our left wing. Right?
We have left match of rubbish. Yeah.
But we have left ourselves on the left wing. We have got Tell, who is 19, 20, right? Odeberg, who is 21. We've got Mikey Moore, who is 18 and loan at Rangers, and Yang, who is not getting a game at Portsmouth, who is also 18, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at.
We've left ourselves with 4 21 and under left wingers, and we're talking about, I know what we can do to remedy this. Let's go and buy another 19-year-old. Like, at what point are we going to go stop buying children and buy? Now, Malik Fofana, for example, at Lyon. Malik Fofana is nearly 21, but has 4 to 5 seasons of pro football behind him. Right? He's played over 170 games in a top league, right? Whatever people think of the French league, it's still considered a top league. And he's now a Belgium international, right? That's okay. But if we're going to go, by the way, not at 70, 80 million, If you're going to go and spend 70, 80 million on a 19-year-old that's played 22 games in his professional career because we've seen a few good games, I genuinely don't understand what the fan base wants and what it matters, what manager we have. We're not serious. We're not a serious football club. Sorry, I just don't think we are.
Yeah.
Firstly, if Tell's talking about Tell's unsettled, he's not happy at the club. Roma are reported. So if you sold Tell and put that money towards Diamondi, then you got 1 for 1 there.
Or put the money towards a top left winger, like buy a top left winger, not a kid.
Listen, if for some miraculous way we got Semenya, you're sorted. You're done.
Sure.
You spent your 80 million. I know it's 65, isn't it? The clause, the buyout clause is 65 million. So then you're done. But in terms of, listen, the money's there. There's 100 million that they put in through a share rights issue, and there's 90 million that they brought forward from TV money. So the club have brought 190 million.
Do we need to buy Lubo? Because let's use your theory, right? And I'm going to ask
if you split that in 5, Sav, if you split that, if you say 5 years, then you're talking about Spurs putting down 38 million out of 190.
Sure. But you're talking about a squad that needs major surgery, and you're wanting to buy 2 new left wingers, one in Diamonde and one in a senior midfield, right? I've got a question for you, right? Perchie's just sent me this. He said, you can tell him it's from me. And he's spot on, Lubo. And this is where I want you to dig yourself out of your own hole, right? He said, please ask Lubo this. He said, shouldn't the priority be an established player? Lubo wants Diamond, but he's telling us Mikey Moore is going to come good and that Yang is a talent. So how many kids does he want? Because he is first to blame the club buying players who block the path of the kids we have. Just buying everything will cause us to have the issues we have now. Lots of players unable to sell. And he's right. You rave about Mikey Moore and that he's the future. I've got people telling me that Odegaard will come good, and people are telling me to tell. All we're doing is stocking the same one position with loads and loads of youth players that you all want to play. And then you all turn around and go, there's no pathway to the first team. Well, yeah, because you want to keep buying kids. You can't have it always, Lubo.
I would sell Tell and Odegaard. I'd move them on. For me,
sure,
I would move them on. And if you got an opportunity to sell Tell in January, then I'd sell him, because if he's unsettled, he wants to move, and a club comes in, you can get decent money, you can get most of your money back.
You're not going to get the 10 million loan fee for the first season, and then the 30 odd million we paid for him.
Well, that's right.
Biggest waste of £40 million you'll ever see in your life.
Right, but they're going to have to take a loss on players.
Why don't you want better? Yeah. Why don't you want better? This is what I don't understand. This constant clamour for kids that could come good in a few years. Why don't we want now? Why don't we say, right, go and buy, again, just use Semenyo. Semenyo comes in as your left-sided player. Why don't we then go, right, we're sorted on the left wing. Semenyo will play there, and then Moore, Yang, and either Tell or Odegaard will be coming through behind him. Right, where else in the squad do we look? Why are we so fixated on needing to constantly bring in these kids? What is it?
Well, you need a number 8 for midfield. I heard you say
2 number 8s.
I heard you say, right, but you start with 1. Start with 1. You got Polina behind, you got Simmons in front. So for this season, you can get through. You got Kulu coming back in. You got Madison will be fit next season. So you pick up an 8. For me in midfield, that's a priority. But Spurs have got the money. They've got the financial power to go out and buy players in January if they're the players that Paratici wants. And I'm sure it's going to be, the final decision will be Paratici, because managers come and go at our club. There's a revolving managerial door. So for me, you'd think Paratici is going to be the one that makes the final decision, because he's there for the long term. You can't see Frank being there long term. as much as you want, as much as I want to see him given a proper opportunity with better players, you can't see him being there long term. You know, and they may even take a view at the end of the season, if the hierarchy want Poch back, then they may well say, well, we've got this opportunity now. He's come to the end of his contract at the end of the World Cup, when the USA, in all probability, go out June the 26th, bring him straight in. And that I can see happening. So, you know.
Yeah, but then aren't we behind the curve? Isn't that the ready-made excuse for next summer, though? That, well, Poch didn't get here until the beginning of July, so we didn't have a full summer. Wait till next summer to get the best. Aren't we just then in more and more like?
Sav, if you're having initial talks with Poch a few months before he's going to come, then you're finding out from him what sort of players he's looking for. He would then look at videos. He'd see the strengths and the weaknesses of the first team and the squad, and he'll say, right, we need to replace A, B, C, and D, and move A, B, and C, and D. And so, you know, managers don't just walk in. There are plenty of conversations that go on prior to their start-up date. So, you know, and Paratici and Lane will be doing their homework right the way through. You know, that when the window finishes on January 31st, they start work again for June.
Well,
so why Poch?
The process should never stop, though, should it? It should be continually evolving.
Of course. No, of course. Why Poch? Why Poch? I don't think we are in having seen the turnover of managers over the last few years. I'm not sure, and winning managers like, you know, Conte and Mourinho that came to the club and weren't backed. I think the kids need to show that they are prepared to back the manager before we start getting quality managers in. Poch wants to come back to the club. He's been twerking. And
can I ask why Poch? Why Poch? Because there are those.
I'm going to have to jump in a few minutes, but I would just say to Lubo's, the club's fractured. We need to bring the feel-good spirit back to it. Not rightly or wrongly, and I'm not an advocate, but I think if you get Poch, he brings that back to the club. And it was, alongside Redknapp, it was one of the more exciting football styles we've seen for a long time, and it was an entertaining team. If he could bring that with genuine investment, without Daniel Levy hanging over and being a pest, who knows? So, yeah, I'm not saying that's the key, and we've never got back with ex-girlfriends, and there's a reason for that. But I think on this occasion, he's got unfinished business. If he was actually backed and properly supported, there may be a different outcome.
Well, the best man, Chris, best man at my wedding, got back with his ex-girlfriend that he's still married to nearly 40 years later.
Well, fair play to him.
You know.
But look, and I know you need to jump in a second, Chris, so when you do, feel free to just drop off. But there are those that will say this, well, what has Poch ever won? You know, like when people are turning around and saying we need a winner at this football club, then they want to crave for Poch. My worry with this, right, it's not that I didn't think Poch did a great job for the years he was here. My worry for this is sometimes the right manager is at the right club at the right time with the right group of players, right? And he won't be walking back into that, right? Whichever way we say it, he's not walking back into Harry Kane and Son that got him hundreds of goals over the years. He's not walking back into that, right? So I don't care. As I said, I don't care if it's Poch or anyone else. We've got to find those signings that make that happen, whether it's Poch or not. He's not walking back into Moussa Dembele. He's not walking back into Kyle Walker and Hugo Lloris or Alderweireld and Vertonghen. This guy is walking into a shit show of a squad, right? So if it is Poch, here's the last thing I'll say before you go, Chris. I know you need to go. Poch, we've never seen evidence that Poch can build a squad, right? Now, that might be controversial because we could say, well, hang on, Levy didn't back it, yada, yada, yada. But of that 11 we just put up on screen, 7 of the 11 were here when Poch arrived, right? Right now, we haven't got that caliber of football at the club. So what's the evidence that Poch can come in? And there's no evidence to say if he's backed that he's going to be that guy. This, for me, feels like it's a very romantic notion of something that was once good rather than what's he done since he left Spurs? What's he done that proves he should be back and he's the guy? Just ask.
I'm going to bail in 9 seconds, but all I'm going to say is we're Tottenham fans. It's the hope that will always kill us.
Sure, absolutely, and that's it. You're right, Chris. It's the hope that he comes back.
Until next time, carry on with this great conversation, chaps.
Thanks,
and,
mate.
Lubo, I'm at Tottenham, as are you, tomorrow. I hope the misery levels aren't too much. We've got Christmas to look forward to.
Cheers.
Muchas gracias, guys. Bye.
Have a good one, mate. Bye-bye.
See you, Chris. See you, Chris.
Yeah, look, Lubo, I'm not. Listen, I'm not.
I'll answer you. Can I answer you?
Go on.
Poch walked into a shit show, a lunatic asylum at Chelsea, sorted them out in the first few months, and got the 3rd highest points total in the second half of the season.
Sure, but he had really good players. He
Yeah,
did have good players to work with.
There was also there was a big turnover of players as well that was going on, like there is at Chelsea every single summer. So he's come into he came into about 39, 40 professionals in his first team squad set. So I had to sift through that, sort out what was his best 25, 30, because obviously there were kids that didn't need to be registered under the 25. And then he got it together and he did a great job in the second half of the season. He left because he left because Gallagher was his captain. They wanted, I think it was probably for FFP reasons, and he had a fallout with them over Gallagher and other players that he didn't want to lose. He went on to PSG. We have all seen how PSG have improved dramatically and become the top team in Europe when you got rid of the egos of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, who are phenomenal players, but individuals, and wouldn't play in a team. Wouldn't play a team game. As soon as they went, Enrique's come in. He's brought in players, and they play as a team. You don't have 8 players.
Enrique's not Poch. Enrique's
no, right.
Enrique's.
But Poch went to PSG, and he won trophies. Now you could turn around and say it's a bit like managing Bayern Munich or managing Celtic. You're going to win most years. But he did there. He came in when they were second, I think, to Nice. I think they were neck and neck with Nice in that last half season. Nice won it. PSG finished second. Following season, he's won it, and by all accounts, he's doing a really good job with the States. It's taken time. He's had some dodgy results, but he now seems to be putting it together. So the guys
are we going to give him that time? Are we going to give him that time, Lubo? Because look, I don't disagree with anything you've just said, right? And
he's the only manager we will give time to, Sav, I think.
Right. Okay. And a lot of what I'm doing here is playing devil's advocate. I know a lot of my chat don't ever seem to understand the difference between when it's my opinion and when I'm playing devil's advocate, right? I agree with you. I think Poch is the manager that the fans will give time to, which I do think is is very hypocritical as well, because he didn't win anything at Tottenham. And arguably, he did have the best team we've had for 20, 30 years and should have won something at Tottenham. So depending on which way you look at it, depends on what people think of Poch. Now, I don't have anything against Poch, by the way, Lubo. I'm just saying, is anything ever as good the second time around? And will we? You know we will, actually. I'm not even going to ask Lubo. I'm going to tell you this. You know what we will all do. This isn't me. This is me, you, everyone in this chat, every Spurs fan. You know what we're going to do, Lubo, when Poch comes back? We're going to compare everything to his first time at Spurs. It doesn't matter what he does. He will be compared to everything. So any young striker that comes through, he's going to make him Harry Kane. Any winger that's bought, he's going to make him suck. You see what I mean? And
that's the easy, lazy. That's easy and lazy to do that.
But that's what we do.
Because,
that's what we do as a fan base.
You know, we haven't got a Lloris in goal. You know, he inherited a back four that include in fact, I think Dyer came in and he played him right back for a lot of that season, didn't he? Walker came through after. Walker and Rose. Yep. I think Rose was there. Rose was already in, and Vertonghen was already in. And he brought Walker through because Walker had been out on loans, hadn't he, after joining the club. because he wasn't. Walker joined, I think, in 2007. I think Chimbonda was the right back at the time. So it took Walker several years to actually break in and become an established right back. And he did that under Poch. So Poch brought players in. He also developed players. So it wasn't, there's your ready-made back four, Bartovi. He brought Walker in.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So,
of course.
So fans have just got to look at what Poch brought, what team he finished up with. The peak year was 16-17 with 86 points. And then you've got to look at the players we've got now compared to the players in that team. And fans have got to be serious and think to themselves, do you know what? Poch hasn't inherited as good a squad as he did previously. So he's going to need time. But bearing in mind, if we've seen what he can do, and for that reason, and we've seen the football that he has got us to play, so the fans will give him the time, and he will unite the fan base. At the moment, the fan base
and
is
then what's the expectation?
The expectation will be, ultimately, hopefully, will be after maybe 3 years that we start winning trophies again.
Okay, so by then he would have had 9 years as Tottenham manager, right? So he's got 9. So essentially, we're saying that Pochettino gets 9 years as Spurs manager to win something. Let's test your memory.
Where are we? It was
he had 6,
4.5, 5 last year, 5, pretty much just under 5 years, 4 years and 10 months. I think he had something like that. So, but do you know what? Pep's had 10. Had 21.
But let's not compare Pep and Poch like that's just
no. I'm just talking in terms of time periods. So Poch would have had 7.5 years over 2 spells. Doesn't matter if he does the job again. If he's good, if he's right for the club, the time frame, and even if it's the second time around, second time around can work. I mean, how many times has Dan Ferguson been at Peterborough?
That hasn't been there a million times.
Down, haven't they?
I'm going to test your memory. I'm going to say a position, and I just want you to give me the name of the player. I'm going to run through Poch's first ever 11. Okay, who was the goalkeeper?
Lloris.
Okay, who was the right back?
Dyer.
Nope.
Christ, that game was at West Ham, I think, when we won 1-0. Dyer last minute goal. Right back. Christ. Can't think.
Right, Carl Walton was the right back. Who was the left back?
Would that be Asar Kotu?
No, that was Danny Rose. Who were the 2 centre halves?
Christ, I remember that day. It was bright sunshine. I
remember, because Dyer scored in the last minute, didn't he?
I remember we've got a great parking space around the corner to the grounds.
Come on, centre halves. Come on.
Vertonghen? Kabul and Vertonghen?
Kabul is one. And the other is a player you've already mentioned.
What, Dyer?
Derek Dyer.
Okay.
Yeah. Who were the 2 centre mids?
Could have been Ben Celeb.
Yep. French.
Capoue,
yep. Okay. Who were the 3 behind the striker?
Then Lennon.
Yep.
Townsend.
Nope.
I'm struggling on those.
Lennon, Lamela, and Eriksson.
Right.
And who was up front that day?
Soldado.
Emmanuel Adebayor. That was the Spurs team on that day.
So look how many he got rid of. How many survived?
No, of course.
Lloris, Rose, Dyer.
But what was actually at the club alongside that wasn't mentioned was Vertonghen was there, but I believe he was injured for that. Vertonghen was there, Dembele was there, and Vertonghen was there, Dembele was there, Kane was there, obviously in the youth team.
Yeah.
And then he bought Wanyama and Delhi.
No, when the Arnold came a year later, he brought Toby, Sonny, and Delhi together in that window afterwards.
No, I'm just saying. But he bought Wanyama,
Yeah.
right? He bought Toby, he bought Delhi, and he bought Son.
Yeah.
So those were the 4 that he added to the 7 that were already at the football club.
Yeah,
because Carl Walker isn't in that game either, right? So, listen, I don't necessarily want him back, but that's not as in, oh my God, I hate Poch. I just don't believe that going back works. However, as I said to you, I'm at the stage, Lubo, where I don't care who the manager is. So I've promised you this, right? And you can call me out on this, Lubo, live on stream if you want.
Yeah.
If and when Frank is sacked, because all managers are sacked at some point, whether it's now or next year, I don't care who Spurs bring in as manager. Right? I don't care if we don't start acting like a proper club in the transfer market. I don't care. If we start acting like a club with a plan, then I will care. Because what that then means is, let's use an example. Lots of people now, De Zerbi, right, has come back into fashion. You know, it's 2 months ago, it was Iriola. Now it's De Zerbi. De Zerbi comes in, right? That, for me, has to be a signal of Spurs saying, this is how we want to play football in general, loosely, moving forward, whoever the manager is. So that De Zerbi comes in, implements De Zerbi ball, if you want to call it that. I hate that, but implements the style. And then when De Zerbi goes, the players that have been brought in aren't necessarily just for De Zerbi, but the next manager comes in, has been well thought out, and is similar to De Zerbi. Doesn't have to be like for like, but similar.
That's how it should run.
Right.
That's exactly how.
I care who the manager is. If we don't, Lubo, and we just keep opening, for all I care, you can bring Ryan Mason in because there's no plan. All we talk about is Frank and Ange, right? That's all we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah.
The bigger picture for me isn't Frank and it isn't Ange. All these people going, you just back Frank. I genuinely, I am bored of saying it. My wife, who can probably hear this in the other room, is bored of me saying, you're bored. I genuinely don't care if Frank stays or not. There has to be a plan, right? And it's easy. This is something Perchie always says to me, which he is right on. Sacking the manager is the easy bit, Lubo. Sacking a manager is really, really easy. Sacking anybody is easy, right? Let's liken this to real life relationships. You can end a relationship with somebody very easily, Lubo. Can't you? Like me, you, whoever. We could easily sit down with our other half and go, I don't want to be with you anymore. That's the easy bit. The fallout, my wife's just walked past me and gone, what? The hard bit to that is, right, now what happens with a fallout with that? Now what happens with your bank accounts? Now what happens with your property? Now what happens with your kids? What happens with your pets?
Yeah.
Now everybody's got to find somewhere else to live. And that's the same as football management. And what I mean by that is sacking the manager, absolutely the easy bit. Great. See you later. Drive your car away. Here's your 10 million side, your 10 million, 12 million payoff. See you later. Now, what's the fallout from that? Well, the fallout from that is we've now got a manager coming into the club who has got 6 different managers worth of players. They've got players from the Poch era, Jose, Conte, Nuno, Ange, and Frank. You've now got a manager coming in. There's no ethos. There's no culture. Half the fan base are going to love whoever the new manager is immediately. The other half are going to go, this guy doesn't play the Spurs way, whatever it may be. So I'm all for sacking managers if there is a well thought out plan. Why is this relationship ending? Is it ending because we've got a plan? This is our guy. That's who we're going to back. This is how he fits in with Paratici and Lang. I'm all for it. But too many people just sit in chat rooms and going, out. Frank, out. Brilliant. What's the plan?
What you need now is whoever we're looking at for the next manager. Yeah.
Mate, that's why you have to change your phone number or block them on WhatsApp, Wayne. Nothing.
And for that reason, two things have got to be in place, Sav. You've got to have a situation where Pochettino knows the type of player profile that the club requires, so that those players are coming into the club and can be utilised by different managers.
Yeah,
that's right. You look at all those players. That's who he got rid of. And the second thing is that as Brighton do, when they change one manager, the new guy's been in place for a year or so. Hertzler, they will then at that stage be looking around. If he happens to go, who are we going to replace him with? And they'll have a list of names who God forbid, that manager gets involved in a car crash, and they got to find another manager the next day. You don't know what's going to happen in life.
Oh.
They will have a replacement. I know that's a bit of a gloom and doom way of looking at it.
No, of course.
In terms of a succession plan, Brighton have the next players for each position. They know which players they're going to go for in the next transfer window if that manager isn't happy with the player in who's in that position.
Yeah, when Van Heck gets sold from Brighton, right?
Yeah.
Just using him as an example, I bet you they've got another left-sided centre half that they are scouting right now.
Of course they do.
They've got 2 or 3 that are ready to come in. And Glenn makes a great point. Big up to my man Glenn. He makes a great point, right? Not only have we got six managers worth of players, how many different directors of football have been in place during these 6 managers, right? You've got Paul Mitchell from the Poch era. Then you've got, why can I never remember his name? He was that good. Who was the one in the documentary? Said he didn't like transfer windows. Yeah, him. Anybody in the chat?
Oh, what's his name?
Oh my God, what's his name?
But Sav, go back and you've got Damien Camoli, you've got Franco Baldini,
right?
Then you've got Paul Mitchell, then you had Steve Hitchens.
That's him. Yeah.
Then after Hitchens,
and then Paratici, then Lang. Now a weird hybrid of the 2 of them.
Well, I think Paratici is for first team, and I think Lang's going to be looking.
No, of course, but I mean the squad now is both of them, right? Like my point is this. My point is this, Lubo, is, and I know what I like to think that 90% of the people that watch me day in, day out and that are loyal to watching my show understand what I'm saying, and that I'm not just sitting here blindly backing a manager, because you and I know, Lubo, results will be the decider. It doesn't really matter if me and you go love Frank or hate Frank. It doesn't really matter. Like the results will get there. But you've got multiple directors of football worth of players, multiple managers worth of players. You've now had different owners in that period of time, different board members, different medical teams. At what point are we going to go, right, we need a year or 2 years of calm, just complete calm, where there's no change, right? And I say this to my wife, and I had this conversation the other day. We've had a couple of years, Lou, but obviously I won't go into detail on here. Couple of years, things in my life where it's been so up and down, right? We always say, God, can 2026 just be a year when nothing happened? Like, we want a boring year, Lubo. Like, no car breaking down, no house repairs need, just a year of being, right?
That's dependent on results, Sav. It's dependent on results.
Of course, but the results are going to be dependent on the other factors, right? Like right now, for example, Danny Kay sent me a really good breakdown yesterday. I don't know if I sent it to you, right? Danny Kay sent me a great breakdown of Spurs this year versus last year. And first thing I said to him was, like, I don't want to compare the managers, but comparing the players, I'll compare because the players are still here. And we're comparing like for like as though it's the same team, as though we're playing the same opposition, as though we've got the same players injured or not injured. For me, it doesn't really do anything. What I do know is that when I look at this squad, nothing about me says we should be top 6 right now. Nothing. Now, maybe if Maddison, Kulu and Solanke are fit, you've got more argument because that's a lot of goals and a lot of assists. But right now, Lubo, I look at it and go, I'm not expecting a lot. So before the game and after the game, when people are like, why are you not more upset? Well, I don't buy into what they've built. I don't look at these players like other people do and go, cool, he's a top player. I don't look at Mawani and go, he's going to bang me a hat trick. I don't look at Xavi Simons and go, he's ready. I don't look at Kudus, lovely player, love him as a player, but I don't look at him and think he was bought for 20 goal contributions. So when I look at this Spurs team, I go, okay, like, yeah, but other people are like, we should be battering this lot. And I don't see it. I don't see it, Lubo.
If you compare, if we're just talking stats, and if we're just talking goals, then, and I'm not talking about ability here. I'm just talking about stats and goals. Johnson's way ahead of Kudus. Maddison's way ahead of Simmons. Richie and Solanke are pretty much even because Solanke got 16 or 17 last season and Richie scored 7 already. So they're pretty equal. And Sonny is way ahead of whoever on the left.
Yeah.
So
3 out of the 4 are down.
We're way down. Where we've made up a few in goals has been the fact that Romero and Van der Ven, I think, they've scored what, 10 or 11 between them already. And apart from that, it's not been great, unfortunately. And the football this season, unfortunately, after a bright start, has got worse, and we've been regressing since the October, since the end of the October international window.
Don't you think we've been regressing more since we've had to play 2 games a week? If you think how we started with full on energy, full on pressing, and then once we've gone to the 2 games a week,
well,
I think it's gone completely downhill because we can't rotate.
If you include PSG first for the Super Cup,
yeah.
You look at the results after after midweek games, whatever trophy, Super Cup, League Cup, Champions League. We played 9 games. We've won 3, we've drawn 4, we lost 2, which isn't great, but it's not disastrous by any stretch. Mm. So you look at it and you think, okay, we've lost 2 in 9. So it's not terrible. For me, I just think the squad, Pellegrini has been a plus, Kudus has been a plus, although when you compare him to the goals that Johnson's got, Kudus has scored 3 and 5 assists. So he's on 8 GA at the moment. And Johnson was 18. Sorry.
It's all right. Just quickly, can I just say just quickly? So Steve, I don't doubt that. My point was this, Steve. Whether or not people want to see it as an excuse or not, between Maddison, Son, Kulusevski, and Solanke, that was 89 goals and assists. That's a huge number. That is massive. That is like saying, imagine Liverpool last season didn't have Mo Salah, Diaz, and Darwin Núñez, right? That's huge numbers. And the problem is, Steve, you've got to replace that. And now it doesn't matter what you think of the play. We've got to replace that. And we didn't. And Lubo, just to give you some, I'm not saying you don't know this, right? But Steve, when you're saying they only miss Matters in your opinion, Sonny last year, whether he was at his best or not, got loads of goals and assists. He got something like 20 odd goal contributions. If I'm not wrong, Lubo, I think Kulu got. I'm just trying to check now.
I
think Kulu, Maddison, and Son and Solanke all got over 20 GA each across all the competitions.
It was it was around 2021, 23,
right.
24.
So
those sort of figures. I'm just trying to find the.
Hang on. So when people are saying we replace that, but again, Colo doesn't hit those numbers, right? Xavi needs time, and Kudus isn't a numbers guy. So you've replaced those numbers with players that aren't capable at the moment of hitting those numbers. You've got to replace goals if you lose them. Sonny hasn't even been replaced. Jim, we're trying to have one show where we don't talk about Postecoglou. Please, just one. Just try. Just one. Right? Kudus has never been... I love Kudus. He's brilliant for what he brings to the team. He's never been that guy that will get you 20, 25 goal contributions. Right? Never. He's never been that guy. Let's have a look. Hang on. I'm going to find what Danny sent me. You ready? Where is it? Let me scroll back. Okay, here we go. You ready? Do you want to listen to this, Lubo? This is what Danny put together, and I thought it was really good, right? You ready, Lubo?
Ready. Far away. Go on.
And I just want to check that that's true. Hang on. I don't think one of those stats is quite true. Let me just double check. So before I go into it, Kulu, Zevsky, okay, so 7 and 4, 11, domestic cups. Yeah, actually, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, okay, yeah, he did. Right. Okay, are you ready? So this is telling. Now, again, this isn't Ange versus Frank. This is just about the squad. Okay. So last season, in all competitions, Son got 22 GA, right? Kulusevski got 21 GA. James Maddison got 23 GA. Solanke got 24 GA. And Johnson got 25 GA, right?
I've got the breakdown here, Sav. I've got the breakdown goals against assists on here.
Yeah, hang on. I've got it all. I'm reading it out to you, Lubo. I'm reading it out right now, right? And he said here, that is 67 goals and 48 assists from just 5 players. So he said, even a declining Son still gave you 7 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League alone, which is the most Premier League attackers would happily take. He said, now look at last season in all competitions for our current players, right? So this is our current players, what they got last season. So Richie got 5 goals and 2 assists. Kudus got 5 goals and 4 assists. Odeberg got 1 goal and 2 assists. And Tell got 3 goals and 2 assists. He said, we've lost goals, assists, creativity, progressive midfielder, right? Now, when you actually break that down, right, and you take Brennan Johnson's out of that, that is 89 GA across 4 players that Spurs didn't even attempt to replace Son. Well, you could say we tried Savio, but we didn't get a left winger. You've brought in a playmaker that needs time. And let's be brutally honest, I like Simmons, Lubo, but he's not Maddison yet.
No.
Now, we don't know if he ever will be, but he's not at Maddison's levels. Maddison's level is brilliant. You got Kudus, who is a very good footballer, but has never been a 22, 23 GA assist person. Not saying he can't be, but he's not right now. And then you've got Richarlison up front, who doesn't hit those big numbers. So for me, and again, this isn't Ange v Frank. Whoever the manager that comes in next, Spurs have got to find a way to recover these goals and assists from better quality players. We've got to find that. If we do not, look, he said, you don't lose 89 GA if the assists are between each other. Look, people are just picking holes now. Whatever way you look at it, those 4 players that are not playing this season, 1 has left and 3 have missed the entire season. That is a lot of goals and creativity, Lubo. We didn't replace it. I am not surprised we are not scoring and assisting loads of goals. So I get it. But whoever the manager is, you've got to buy quality. Those forward players we've got right now, the quality is not there. Whoever the manager is, that quality is not there. Whoever the manager is.
It's a problem. It is. It is a problem because Kudus' stats are not replacing Johnson. we're just talking
Well, no,
stats here. Maddison, I mean, Richie and Solanke. I mean, Richie's on probably, I think he scored 7, something like 3 assists. So Richie's the only one who, like for like, is there or thereabouts. Kulu, I'm not sure who would you compare Kulu to this year? I don't know. Sonny's your left winger, Madison's your Simmons, stroke, Sarr, stroke, Bergvall. Now, the goals that were scored, what do we speak about? 30, 47, 57, 68. Those 5 players contributed 68 out of 104. Now, we scored 104 goals last season in 60 games. Just trying to see what our goals per game is so far this season. But it can't be. I don't think it's probably there or thereabouts. It's not that far away. We scored. What have we scored? We scored 25, I think, in 6. We scored 25 in 16 games. What on earth is that?
What is that?
Someone driving past. No idea.
Wow.
So we scored 25 in 16 in the Premier League, I think. In the Carabao, we scored 4 in 2. And in the Champions League, what have we scored there?
Again, Glenn, great point. Great point. But do you know what this all comes down to, Glenn? Whatever the numbers are, it comes down to the quality of the footballers, right? Comes down to the quality of the footballers. If you are a back 4 right now, are you really worried about playing against Odegaard or Tell or Richarlison or Mawani? Do you know what I mean, Glenn? Realistically, if I'm a back 4, I'm not looking at them and going, I'm in for a really, really tough day. Now, I don't want to play against Kudus because, and this is where it's an exception to the rule. Kudus might not be a GA machine, but if you're a fullback, you don't want to mark Kudus for the entire game because he's going to give you problems. I would quite happily mark Richarlison if I'm a centre half. I'll quite happily mark Mawani out on that left wing. We've got to look. This isn't. We need better players. And have you heard, Lubo, what Harry Redknapp said this morning?
Yes, I did.
Right, Harry Redknapp has said the players and the recruitment simply haven't been good enough. I can see this happening time and time again at Tottenham Hotspur. I don't understand how we have fans that don't understand it. Like, it's getting worse and worse. We're not buying what we need. We're not buying what we need. It's not just up front.
The funny thing is, up front, Stav, last year we scored 1.73 per game, and this year it's 1.69, so it's virtually the same.
Sure. I'm not saying that.
Which is strange because the football's been really poor, and it's been much more pragmatic and much more defensive. And we've still scored pretty much the same amount per game. So, and the results are pretty much the same at this stage as well.
Sure, but the thing is, I'll tell you the reason I don't judge this stage versus the stage last season. When I saw Danny saying this last year after 16 games, Ange and Frank and all this. And first of all, this time last season, we had our best 11 out for most games. This time last season, we hadn't hit the injury problems. So you had Son every game. You had Maddison. You had Kulu. You had your first team players out. You had Romero, Van der Ven, Dogi, Porro. Like, you had them all.
Yeah.
If you actually look when the injuries kick in, now that's all I'm saying is whoever the next manager is, or with Frank, can we see them with their best 11 at least? Can we see a best 11 play before we? And that's why when people go this stage last season v this stage this season, well, I think people have got short memories, Lubo, because at this stage last season, we got absolutely hammered by Galatasaray. We got beaten by Ipswich, beaten at home, who couldn't buy a win, beaten by Palace, who couldn't buy a win. So, for me, it's not about 16 games this year versus 16 games last year, because it's different teams, different managers, different opponents. It doesn't really mean anything. I'm more worried about where are we going that way, Lubo? There's no point looking. We keep looking to the past at Spurs. We look at Kane, we look at Poch, we look at this, where are we going forward as a football club? And I think everyone will agree, whether they hate me or not. I know a lot of people watch me because they hate me and some watch me because they love me. But whatever it is, whoever the manager is, Lubo, I can't say this enough. We've got to buy quality. It doesn't matter. We need to buy quality. And fans can't look. You can come up see again, like this is what you're dealing with. It's not excuses for Frank. The squad, whoever the manager is, we need to upskill. And unfortunately, our fans, they will see when the next manager comes in, he will also need to be backed. He will need to be backed. This isn't rocket science. This isn't rocket science. And you're right. Maybe we do need to come up with better supporters. Maybe those that can use their ears. Come on, man. It's not excuses for Frank. You've got to have the players, right? You think we've gone from, in Conte's era, we've gone from Kane, Son, Kulu as a front three, Lubo. Right? And do you know, in that full season that Conte had, in that season that Conte had, where he got fourth, do you know how many goals and assists those three got in that year? Just 3 of them.
Well, I think after Conte joins, was it from Christmas? We scored something like 49 goals. It was something crazy because we got 5 against Everton, scored 5 against Norwich, got 4 against Leeds. We were scoring. There were high scoring matches there. You know.
Right. So the numbers, right? Between Kane and Son in that season when we finished 4th, just those 2. And this shows the quality of the players, Lubo. They got 70. They got, I'm going to tell you, you don't have to guess. I'm about to tell you, right? They got 73 GA. 2 players, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you add in Kulu, who only joined in January, Kulu got another 12 GA. Those 3 between them got 85 GA in a season. So when people are going, oh, but we finished 4th. Yeah, because we got 89 GA between 3 forwards. Since that time, we've lost Kane. Then you've lost Son. So now you've got no Kane, no Son, no Kulu. And you know what? Not replaced it. And I know Kulu will come back, but we've not replaced it. You can't keep dropping quality all over the pitch and expecting the same results.
Yeah. The reason, by the way, for anyone saying, I saw a comment on there, so 89 GA isn't affected, Lubo, if we are virtually the same. Van der Ven's got 6, Romero's got 5, Palhinha's got 4. Those 15 goals, right, minus the goal that Romero scored in the first half of the season last year against Everton in August, that gives us 14. That's 14 goals that these guys have made up in 26 games. That's nearly hot. That's just over 0.5 goals per game that we are down with our creative stroke forwards. So we're losing a goal every 2 games.
But can I ask, why is it whenever we talk about this, everyone has to automatically go to Ange v Frank? I'm talking about the squad. I'm talking about Tottenham Hotspur, not Ange Postecoglou, not Thomas Frank, right? You quite simply, it doesn't matter if it's Tottenham. You cannot go, like right now, if Man City, Lubo, if Man City sold Erling Haaland, right? You can't go from Erling Haaland to Richarlison, right? And then expect the same number of goals.
That's right. I think I would say to anybody comparing Frank and Ange, let's go back to the beginning of last season. Then let's compare last season's squad with the squad that Poch had 8 years ago, and then you see the difference. So it isn't a question. It's not a question of the last 2 seasons. We have regressed over 8 years.
Of course. That's
the
my
team,
that's my point.
The team that got to Madrid was not as good as the team in 2017 that had Dembele in it. Unfortunately, they took the 11 million, I think it was, from China for Dembele at the end of the transfer window before Madrid. That turned out potentially to be a massive mistake, didn't it? You know, if you'd have had a fit, I know Dembele was having his injury problems when he got sold, but if he'd have been playing in that in that final in Madrid, it could have been very different. So sure. It's not Frank and Ange. Both Frank and Ange have had inferior squads by a long way to the squad that Poch had. And I think when we talk about where we are now, it's not about where we are now compared to. We're talking about comparing goals to last season. The bigger picture is that we're much more inferior as a squad compared to where we were under Pochettino.
The problem is
that's the problem.
We can never seem to have a conversation about the bigger picture at Tottenham. It's always got to be Ange v Frank, like Frank v Conte. It's like it's so boring now, right? Like genuinely, I sat there last night, Lubo, and I genuinely sat there and I thought, I'm so bored of I can't go live without everybody needing to talk about Ange constantly. And I really hope when Frank leaves, that this isn't, we're not just going to, like, at what point are we going to talk about Spurs and football? I want Spurs to get better. I don't care about Ange. I don't care about Frank. I'm not their family. They are employed, like they are paid employees of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. You know what? I like Frank. I want to give Frank some time. If he's not given it, oh well. We move on to the next manager, Lubo, and we'll be sitting here having the same conversation about the same footballers, right? So I want to bring up a point I've just seen, which is interesting, right? So this person here said, maybe because we're playing more defensive, though, style of players are going to get a lot of goals out of the front line. But you've not listened. Look at the players we've got in our front line now and look at their careers. They've never had the goals that we tried to replace. There's no history or evidence to show that those players are capable of it. So if you're going to replace, you've got to bring in people that have been there and done it. Otherwise, you're developing and hoping. As I said, if Liverpool are going to replace Mo Salah, the goals are going to drop at first anyway, because how do you replace Mo Salah? Now, they might bring in a Semenyo who might get 20 GA in a season. But what's Mo Salah's average GA every year? 50? 48? 50? 55? Right? Like, we're talking huge numbers. Man City. If Man City lose Haaland right now, Lubo, what striker are they bringing in that's going to cover that GA that he gives them? They're not. Unless they get Harry Kane, they are not.
Forget GA. You're just talking goals. I mean, I think I saw figures the other week where he was on 24, and I think the next one was on 8 or 6, which was Marmouche. So 5 maybe. It's massive, and that's the problem where you have one player who is so much better than everybody else. In terms of stats, yeah. So
completely, and the worry for me is when Kane goes, right, think, okay, right, we're not going to get a Kane. I appreciate that, Lubo. There aren't Harry Kanes in the world. And if there are, let's be fair. If we're going to talk about Harry Kane level players, you've got Erling Haaland, who plays at Man City. He's not joining Tottenham. You've got Lewandowski at Barcelona. He's not joining Tottenham. You've got Mbappe at Real Madrid. He's not joining Tottenham, right? So you've got to find a way of leveling it out. Now, last season, what Tottenham had without Kane was Maddison will get you 10 in the league. Son will get you 10 in the league. Lulu will get you 10 in the league, right? But if you've got no one that's capable of if you haven't got 3 or 4 players that are capable of getting you 10 league goals, you are going to struggle in games. You are. Now, that is not Thomas Frank. That is general. That is why lower clubs down the table, Lubo, that don't have Harry Kanes, they don't score a lot of goals every year because they're getting 5 from this player, 6 from that player, 7 from that player, 4 from this player. This isn't rocket science. But and when we say the top scorer from last season's on the bench, okay, so you tell me, you want Brennan Johnson in this 11. Where do you want him in the 11?
That's the problem.
You tell me, right? Where does Brennan Johnson fit into the 11? Because if Thomas Frank played Brennan Johnson every game, you lot, including me, we will all go, why is he playing Brennan Johnson? He's rubbish. So if we're going to use Brennan Johnson as the benchmark for what we need to do, we've got serious issues.
Of course you do.
Serious issues at this football club if that is the benchmark. And it's
works.
So funny. I've seen YouTubers doing this, by the way. Brennan Johnson. These YouTubers don't rate him. I've seen the very same YouTubers say, I don't rate Brennan Johnson, but they want him in the team. Where? Do you want him over Kudus on the right?
Let me read you out. I mean, you look at this, Sav. You look at the just take the Premier League this season, and our goal scorers up to now. Richarlison's on 6. Mickey's on 3. They are the top 2 goal scorers in the Premier League for Spurs after 16 games, nearly half a season. Richie's on 6. And Van der Ven's on 3. Tell's got 2. Sarr's got 2. Romero's got 2. Palhinha's got 2. Kudus has got 2. Johnson's got 2. Bergvall, Bentancur, and Simmons have got 1. So you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You've
out
got
of
11
those players, who would you be expecting to have more than that at this stage? I don't look at any of them and go, why are you not on 8 or 9 or 10? None of them are that level.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, and
why did Johnson work in an Ange system? I don't want to talk about Ange, but Johnson worked in the previous manager system because it was so gung-ho and wide open that we just flooded forward, right? Why won't he work in any other system? Because he's not got the footballing ability and doesn't track back and help his back 4.
And then when you look at the main goal scorers over the season up to now, which is what, 26 games we played, 26. Richie's got 7, Mickey's got 6. Where are we? Romero has got. He's got. It's only showing 3. I think this was before Newcastle. Romero's got 5. Palhinha's got 4. Johnson's got 4. They're your leading goal scorers,
mate. And you know what? As I said, the next manager that comes in, if they have to deal with these players, I'm not going to be expecting much more from those forward players either. You might have one that has a little bit of a purple patch, but we desperately, and by the way, this for me, right? This for me desperately has shown this season how good James Maddison is as a footballer, right? If for all the Spurs fans that can't, Madders, that boy creates. That boy. Did you see these, Lubo? Right? Did you see? Look at this. This is since the Premier League. So since his debut in the Premier League 7 years ago. Look at those ranks. Look at those. So the most goals from outside the box of any player, something we don't have right now. Second most free kick goals behind James Ward-Prowse. Only 6 players in 7 years have got more assists. Only 4 players in 7 years have created more chances. And only 3 players have created more chances from set pieces. That's the sort of player we have not got. We have not replaced those goals, those assists, those we haven't replaced it, right? Now, when you look at him overall, look at this. This is it. This is him in the Premier League. Look how much shit this boy gets. But look at those numbers. Look at those numbers year in, year out. Look at those numbers. Right? Now, that's one player. That's just James Maddison. Now you take away Son. And by the way, Sonny should have gone. That isn't my point that he shouldn't have gone, Lubo. Spurs didn't replace. And again, this right, dude. I will block you if you get this. Isn't what I've said at all. Look, you've got to listen to what I'm saying. This isn't Ange v Frank. We're talking about the players that we had available going forwards last season versus this season. This isn't about improving players. This is last season we had Son, Maddison, Kulu, and Solanke to a lesser degree. This season we don't have a single one of those four, and we have not replaced them with quality. And again, when people, if you're going to use stats, use them properly, right? If you look in Ange's first season, James Maddison made 28 appearances, right? So when you're saying he was out in Ange's first season, yeah, he missed 10 games, but he played 28 and still got, what's that, 1 in 2? Just under 1 in 2 goal contributions. So again, though, we've got to stop doing this. I've got so many people in my chat, like this guy is one of them. Everything is constantly Ange versus Frank. What? Honestly, Lou, but it makes me just go, what's the point of doing shows? I
think I've just got to say
about the future.
I think in reply to Tom, the situation's much bigger than the last 2 seasons. I think we're looking at we're looking at the quality of the squad has dropped year on year for the last 8 years, and I think that's where we should be looking at. That's the area that you're looking at, thinking, right, how are we going to improve that? How are we going to get back to where we were? Because we've sort of gone from 2017 we were second, 2018 we were third, 2019 we were fourth, and last year we finished 17th. Now, okay, there are extenuating circumstances there. We know that Mickey wasn't played; he was only played in cup games, and there were injuries, and Angie's system didn't do anybody any good either. But taking last season out, we pretty much dropped since Poch. Also in terms of quality, maybe the league positions haven't been drastically reduced, drastically worse off, but the quality of the players has gone down. And ultimately, you can get away with holes being papered over by Kane and Son, but without them now we've got a problem. And I think that's where we are. I think that's the bigger point. It's not a question of Ange v Frank. I don't think the squad's been strong enough, to be honest, for the last 2 years. For the last 2.5 seasons since
I don't think it's been strong enough for 7 years, Lubo.
Yeah,
if we're going to be honest, it's not been strong enough for years and years.
Sure, but if you look at Conte picked the team up and took us fourth 3.5 years ago. Since then, it's been a drop down. Now, Conte had us fourth in March.
Yeah, but again, that squad wasn't strong.
No, but that wasn't a strong squad. But we had Kane and Son. We had Kane and Son. We had Romero. We had Romero. We had Kulu. We had Bentancur. So we had five decent players then, of a certain level. The level's dropped now. I mean, you take Kane out of the team. You take Pete Son out of the team, and the quality has dropped dramatically. Now, the players we were going after, in the summer, even the players we didn't get, showed ambition. So for me, that was a positive. That's a positive. The only kid that they bought was Takai. I mean, God knows what's going to happen there. I mean, we're in December. We haven't even seen him yet. So you take Takai out. The players that we bought were all fairly established, fairly proven players. Moani had done it in Germany. Kudus had done it in the Prem. So had Polinia, and Simmons had done it abroad as well. So, we're not buying Grays and Bergvals for the future or Valizes. We bought players for the here and now. If that carries on, we go and get another 4. We get 2 in January. We get 4 in the summer. You've got 6 more players. That strengthens the first team dramatically. And those players from the first team drop in, become squad players. So the squad becomes stronger. And year by year, you improve it. But this is not done in 2 minutes. The team that Poch had was built over 4 years. Starting, you had Walker and Rose that came 7 years before Poch did. They were there 2007, 2008. Lloris came in 2012, as did Vertonghen, as did Dembele. You know, Dyer came in 2014. Son Toby Deli came in 2015. Wanyama came in 2018. Kane was already there. Okay, you know, he came through. There's most of your squad of 12.
But we've got to see it happen, Lubo. Listen. I agree with you. The players we tried to sign in the summer, I agree with you. But we've got to see it happen.
Sure.
And right now, imagine we got Rodgers and Eze, or we've got Savio and Gibbs White. I think we're seeing a very different Tottenham team right now. And that's all I want to see. I've not once said, right, I know everyone thinks everything's black and white in football, and it's not. I've not once said Thomas Frank is the golden messiah who's going to take us to league glory. But what I'd at least like to see, whether it's Frank or the next manager, is that we allow that manager to build their own team and then say, yeah, you failed or not. What I don't want is that we keep giving a manager somebody else's team and then saying, yeah, this manager's not done well. That's all I've asked for. Sure. And everyone goes on as though I think Frank's the messiah. I don't. He might be the guy before the guy before the guy. I don't know.
The two managers that have had most success in the last 25 years, if we're talking about building teams and playing attractive football, are Redknapp and Poch. Redknapp was there for 4 years. Poch was there for 5.5. Everybody else, you know, you've had Ramos, who was there for just over a year, I think, and Ange are the two who won the trophies. But in terms of sustainability, in terms of building teams, then you've got to say, and entertainment-wise, which all the fans want, you know, that we're being charged enough money. We want to go to football and have an enjoyable afternoon. Win, draw or lose, preferably, obviously, win. But providing your team play well and they play attractive football, and they give 100%, I think everybody walks out. Some you win, some you don't. And I think we're a long, long way from there. We're a long way away. So
absolutely.
it is a patience game. I think there are green shoots coming through. I think we got some good kids in the background ready to come through in the next couple of years. And I do think the owners have stepped back, and for the first time in 25 years, they are not involved in the club on a day-to-day basis, and they're letting non-directors run the club, and they're putting a structure in place. So for me, I'm feeling more optimistic because of that. But it is going to be a game of patience. I don't see us winning anything this season. I think this season, you know, people say, well, it's a write-off. It's not. It's not a write-off. It's the start of the period that Spurs start to come back, and that's how hopefully I'm looking at it. I hope Frank gets the time to see let's see if he's good enough. Nobody knows if he's good enough. He's never been a manager at this level before. He's never, you know, Brentford in.
But at what level? But here's the question.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know his level.
Hang on. But here's the question: when Spurs fans say at our level, what are we? We keep saying this, and in name we are a big club. But in performances over the last 6-7 years with squad, we're not. So what are we? When we keep saying Spurs, you can't build this squad and then say the manager's not good enough for this club. Sure, if you had a top squad, you might turn around and go, well, this isn't the manager you want managing it. We haven't built a top squad. We've built.
It is a mess.
Is this 11 we've got now, is a question, better than the 11 he had at Brentford last year? In all reality, is it better than Mbeumo, Wissa, Damsgaard, Rico Henry?
Well,
is it better?
When you consider that we finished 16 points behind Brentford last season, you've got to say that Brentford have, but then Brentford squad, no, it's not as good as Brentford squad last year.
But this is the problem. As I said, every week, what I see from people is they go, oh, it's Forest. Right? Now, what we do is we say it by name. Oh, it's Sunderland. We say them by name of the club and we go, they're not a big club. right? When you break it down and actually look at the 11s of some of these teams, what is it that we've got that our fans think is so good? I looked at Sean, Wolfie and I, last Friday, before the Forest game, did a combined 11. And you know, the funny thing is, Sean and I was sitting there, bearing in mind, Sean and I have very different opinions, Lubo. Sean and I was sitting there going, actually, we were like, goalkeeper. We're like, oh, actually, Sells could be better than Bakara. Fullbacks. Oh, well, hang on. Nico Williams is a solid Premier League. Now, I'm not saying go and buy those players. That's not, because I know people say that. But when you looked at the 2 11s, Lubo, there wasn't Spurs Forest. There is by name, but this is what we keep doing. We will do this every team we play. It will be, yeah, but we're playing Fulham. I look at the 11s and go, I don't think that our 11 is that good. I don't. But the name suggests that it is, right?
Well, you see, that's the thing. If you compare us to Forest last season, Forest finished 27 points ahead of us. That's
27, 9 wins.
27 points. We finished on 38. They finished on 65. And Nuno made compared to last season, which he was obviously being compared against, Nuno made a poor start. So I think that was more down to a personality clash with the chairman. Nuno was gone. Ange came in, took him from 10th to 18th in 5.5 weeks. 10th to 18th. The writing was on the wall. Marinakis didn't hang around as long as Levy did with Ange. Got rid of him. Dyche has come in, and he's now brought back the blueprints that made Forest his season last year. So, you know, he's brought them back. He's playing a similar style now, and they got a good side. And we saw last week they got a good side. You know, they went to Liverpool and won 3-0. Strange thing, how mad football is this season is that we beat Everton 3-0. Everton beat Forest 3-0 and Forest beat us 3-0. That's how up and down the Premier League is this year. There's no rhyme or reason, but Forest are much better than where they are. Their players are much better than where they are, and Dyche will get them probably quite a bit higher than 16th. So is our squad as good? Our squad is not as good as Brentford's last year, probably. Although, there's 16 points. You know, people turn around and say that Brentford only had 1 game last season and we had 2. So, you know, they weren't in Europe. So were they 16 points better than us in terms of the level of the squad? Probably not. Was our squad on a similar level to Brentford last season? Probably was, when you take everything into account. But it all comes back to the same thing. Why are we comparing ourselves to Brentford? We should be comparing ourselves to the top 5. And that's where we've got to be. Because Spurs historically are a big club. Financially now we're a big club. We're not elite. The elite clubs win, you know, Liverpool and United, 20 trophies. Juventus, Milan, Inter have all won many, many more league championships than Spurs is 2. So, but we are a big club. We're a big club. We're not an elite club. Trophy-wise, we're a big club. And we've got to be doing better.
So I'd look at this, right? I'd look at this. And this is the worrying thing for me, is it's how the gap has closed over the last number of years for me in terms of the player quality of the smaller clubs pushing ours up, right? Yeah, but I think the point is, Sean, is that those managers have had time, right? Managers have time, and this is the point. I looked off now, Sam. Okay, let's block that person. Just a silly take. Right, I'm just going to look at Crystal Palace's 11, for example, just an 11. Now, I don't watch Palace every week. I'm sure they make changes. When I look at this Crystal Palace 11, for example, right, that has been built over time, right? That has been built over time. Oh, hang on. There we go. That has been built over time, right? Yeah, I don't know what that's got to do with anything. Ange didn't have time at Forest. Yeah, I know. I didn't say he did. right? When I look at this 11, now this is with Henderson in goal. I actually look at this 11. By the way, I'm not going, oh my God, look how good Palace are. But they've built an 11 over the last few years, right? Some players were there from the previous manager. Some players are there for Glasner. And they've built sensibly. And I look at it and go, yeah, good team. Good team. Not amazing, Lubo. And I know fans like to go from one end to the other. It's a good Premier League team. It's not amazing. It's not going to win titles, right? But it's a good, solid team. When I look at our team and I look at this team, I don't go, we are superior. There are obviously players from our team that absolutely walk into this team. But there are also players that you look and go, well, no, they're actually stronger, or they've bought really well for the position they need. And again, this comes down to, Lubo, for me over the years, because we don't have an identity, because we've chopped and changed so much, we don't know what it is that we need in each position and each identity. So when you've got Conte's got this style, right? And then Ange has got this style, and then Frank has got this style. You just got all these mismatch of players, and then we go on, make it all work. Clubs like this, they bought in Glasner. They now know their style. You now know that whoever Palace buy, and I know Glasner might be moving on, but they buy for this really well. They buy for it really well. And I look at this team, and it's difficult because we don't play the same formation, but I don't look that their midfield is worse than ours. I don't look that their fullbacks, if you will, in Munoz and Mitchell, are worse than ours. They've built a really good defence with the right components. It's not about, oh my God, how amazing is Lacroix, how amazing is... But they've bought what they need with the right components.
So I've got someone at the door. Bear with me 1 minute.
Yeah, no worries. I'll keep talking. Right? When I look at us, I don't see that we've got anything in mind. I don't see that we've ever built anything in mind to say, yeah, this is our style. This is what we do. This is our culture. And I get that people out there, some of you will understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying Crystal Palace are amazing. I'm not. We have some very good players at Tottenham Hotspur. But with no real plan in mind. We've not built with a plan. And sometimes the sum of the parts are greater. And you'll know what I mean, if you know what I mean. Sometimes the sum of the parts are greater. They built well, bought what they need, kept it consistent, right? By the way, I'm going to block, if you keep saying this, I'm going to block you. No one said this. Stop making things up. Stop making things up. No one said, you keep making things up that no one said. Please stop this. Bill, you're right. So Spurs again, I can't remember the last time that we've had... Sorry, let me mute Lubo's mic. He's not learned how to do that yet. I can't remember the last time that Spurs have actually had a balanced team and a balanced squad for a manager. So it's not Frank, it's not Ange, it's not Conte, it's not Jose. When did any of those managers actually have a balanced squad where you went, yeah, we've got the pieces in place? I can't remember it. So again, it's really difficult because so many don't listen. It's not about Ange, it's not about Frank. This is about Tottenham Hotspur. When are we going to build that? We had the chance in the summer to buy a left back, didn't want to do it. Had a chance to buy left wingers, didn't want to do it. Had a chance to buy midfielders, didn't want to do it. We've got to find some balance. We've got to find some peace. We've got to find some stability in this football club, whoever the football manager is. And this is me using a smaller Premier League club as an example. This is not me going, oh my God, we need to be like Palace. They bought stability, right? They bought the right players for the right positions. They bought in Richards because they needed a right-sided centre-half, and then he took the place of Anderson, right? They bought in Munoz because they needed to play with a right wing-back. And look how good Munoz is. Jeremy Pino has slotted in to the formation really, really well. But we don't have that. And it's not, Lubo, the point I'm trying to make here, it's not that player for player, everyone is amazing and ours are shit. That's not what I'm saying. But when you are buying for a settled team with a plan in place, it is so much simpler than us going and buying randomly. Was Mawani bought with a plan? No, it was a panic, wasn't it? It was a panic. Simmons, you're on mute. Was Simmons bought with a plan? Well, I like Simmons, but again, Simmons was the guy because we couldn't get Gibbs White, couldn't get Eze, couldn't get Roger. But was he bought with a plan in mind? I don't know. I genuinely don't know at this stage what the plan has been for so many years at Spurs.
There is no plan.
Right.
There hasn't been a plan.
Right.
There hasn't been a plan because every manager comes in and wants their players. And if you look at comparing the Palace squad, you can't compare when you're comparing teams. When you're comparing teams, you've got to compare the team, the way they play, and the players who have been bought for that team. Do they all fit together? Do these players suit the system? And based on that, you've got to say that Palace have got a much better first 11 than we have.
For what Palace are they have, right? For what Palace are they have the better first 11? It's not about
they function better.
Player.
Sav, they function better. They've won the FA Cup, they've won the Charity Shield, and they're 4th or 5th in the table at the moment. So you've got to look at it and you've got to say that currently Palace have a much better 11 as a team, put together as a team. I'm not talking player for player, but as a team, the way they're set up, the players that are in and the players that suit the system, which is a 3-4-3, because Glasner likes playing his 3 at the back, is far better than our 4-2-3-1 system because they have better players for that system than we do for ours. And
that's why I'd love to see the manager getting players for his system, and then we can turn around and go, like Glasner has done a really good job at Palace, right? Glasner's been allowed to bring in players he wants as well. In the last 2 years, he's built this team, and you go, really good job, well done, right? That's fair enough, right? Really good job, won the FA Cup. I would just like to get to that stage with a manager where we go, right, look, you've had windows now, and these are your players. How well have you done? And you know what, Lubo, if in a year's time you go, hang on, mate, we've got rid of 10 players, we've brought 10 players in, nothing's changed. You go, well, you've done a really bad job. But if we're going to judge players on the last players' managers where there was no system, and as I said, this isn't Frank. My theory carries over, Lubo. My theory carries over to the next manager. And when saying we bought 4 players that improved the starting 11, I don't know that we did when we talk about that to improve what 11. We hadn't even built the system yet. We're talking about bringing in 4 players that improve the 11. For me, as I said, Xavi Simons needs time, but is not as good as James Maddison. So for me, that hasn't improved the 11. Very good footballer who I wanted, but I think needs time. For me, Mawani hasn't improved anything really. If we're going to be brutally honest, he's not the goal scorer, right? Paulinho, really like him. Kudus, really like him. But we need a bit of time. We need a bit of time. And what frustrates me, Lubo, is people don't listen to what's actually being said. So people will go away now and go, Savva says that every one of Palace's players are better than ours. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that as a team, what they've built over the years is calm. There is calmness. Everyone knows. If you go and speak to the Palace fans right now, how many of them, realistically, Lubo, maybe you might say Will Hughes for Lerma, how many of them are going to tell me I'm wrong with that 11 for Palace?
No, listen, they are the level of club they are. They're not going to have 18, 20 very, very good players. It's just not the way it works. They're further down the pecking order. And let's remember, they've lost Eze. They've lost Elise in the last year and a half. They've lost their 2 best players. So Glasner's done a superb job. He's done an absolutely brilliant job there. So
sorry, can I just say, sorry, who's this is what drives me crazy, Lubo. Who said this? Who said that Glasner's got nothing to do with it? Who said that?
I don't know.
What are we doing here? Again, dude, listen, I don't want to block people, but if we're going to be silly, I will block people. No one said that. I actually said Glasner's done a great job. If you listen to what I said, he's done a great job. But you know what? Glasner's been there a few years now, so being able to mold it and shape it into his team. Crystal Palace weren't this when he turned up, Lubo, were they? Crystal Palace weren't this team that when he turned up. Over the first year, he was allowed to mold and shape them. They had ups and downs. Remember, they went 9 without a win at the beginning of the Premier League, right?
At the start, and that was because he didn't have the squads, because he was missing Walton and Eze, who were 2 absolutely key players. Unfortunately for us, they came back for our match, and Palace won their first game of the season.
Sure, but it goes to show that, listen, and there's no one, me or you or anyone in the chat can predict the future. I don't know that if Frank's given his own players that it works. You don't know that it doesn't. That's life, right? That's life.
Yeah, of course.
But what I would like to see is the opportunity for a manager to be given their own players.
Well, that's the key, and that's where, because our fans have been starved of success for so long, everyone's patience is running thin. So will you flick back one comment to the one before? The one before.
Which one?
No, the one after that. The one after Scott's. What happens when you play? No, sorry, there was just sort of, beg your pardon, flicking up. How was Glasner doing at the start of last season? Our fans would be calling for the sack.
Oh right, yeah.
I just want to say how it's funny how social media has shaped the way people feel about managers. If we had social media in the mid-70s, Birkinshaw picked up a team. Birkinshaw took over from Terry Neal in 76. The team was on the way down. We won trophies 71, 72, 73. It started drifting after that. We got to the UEFA Cup final 74. 75, we just about avoided relegation. We were mid-table 76 and 77 at the end of Birkinshaw's first season, because he picked up a team that was on the way down that had talents like Perryman and Hoddle, but overall wasn't great. And then 77, there was a big dip and they got relegated. Do you think the fans at the end of Birkinshaw's first season would have given him the time to pick himself up? He went into the second division. He dug out with players like Colin Lee and Ian Moores. This was the level of our front line. We had Peter Taylor on the wing. You had Perryman, you had Hoddle, you had Barry Daines, because Jennings had gone in 76 to Arsenal for 8 years. And unfortunately, you had people like Terry Naylor at right back. Believe me, it wasn't a great team, but it was good enough to get promotion. Got them back, brought Ozzy and Ricky in, and in the fourth season after that, we won the FA Cup in 81, the FA Cup in 82, the UEFA Cup in 84, and that was the UEFA. That wasn't the Europa League of yesterday. That was the UEFA.
That's when it was a proper tournament with
the proper team where they were the teams that finished second, third, and fourth in the league. This wasn't a Champions League of God knows 5 clubs, and then the rest went into the Europa. So how many fans would have actually had the patience to have given Birkinshaw the second season in Division 2, or the Championship as it's known now? And you're right, social media has warped everything.
It has, massively.
Unfortunately, everybody wants everything now, which is a society change as well. People are just not prepared. How does anybody think this team is going to challenge top 4, top 3, top 2, or challenge Arsenal and City for the league with the squad that we've got. And everybody's screaming, Frank out, Frank out. Seriously, what do people expect of this squad of players that has regressed and gone backwards? Teams that win leagues, their squads improve every year. We've gone backwards pretty much every year. So I just don't know. And it's so easy. We want this, we want that. We all want it. I've been following Spurs 60 years. I've never seen them win the league. I want to see them win the league before I stop going to football. I just want to see it once.
Yeah.
For me, that's more important than winning a Champions League. I just want to see them win the league once.
Do you know what it is, though, Lubo?
Everybody wants everything now. No one's prepared to look at this squad and see how poor this squad is against the top squads that we want to win the league against, and think, oh, why aren't we doing it? Chuck Frank out. Why has Frank? Why is Frank doing how he's doing? Why isn't Frank top 4 at the moment? Have a look at the squad. Have a look at the player. Have a look, not just on ability, mental toughness. This is why players turn up some weeks, don't turn up the next. That's what's been going on. Bournemouth, Wolves, Bodo, Monaco, Chelsea, Arsenal, Fulham, Forest. There's 8 games. Our players haven't turned up. Why is that? Do you think the top clubs like Arsenal or City don't turn up for 8 games and we're not even half a season through? Why do you think their players turn up week in, week out, and our players don't? Just think about it before people start going on about the manager.
But Lubo, there's too many people that don't understand what the quality of a player does. I.e., we just keep hearing, yeah, but they can all work hard. Yes, you can all work hard. But if that theory was true, then clubs wouldn't get relegated. If working hard was all it took, then clubs wouldn't get relegated. Players are everything. You've got to have the player quality. Now, I, for one, am not saying the football's been good. But I, for one, Lubo, said this in the summer, I don't expect the football to be good this year. And I think we're going to have many, many, many bad days. But loads of people don't want that. And I get it. We're in 2025, social media. I get it, right? But the problem is this. Everyone is so busy with their ego and with their point scoring that when I actually watch Spurs shows now, hardly any of the YouTubers are actually talking about what needs to happen moving forward. Hardly any people in the chat are actually having sensible conversations. All it is, do you remember you said this and you said that and I said this and I said that? None of that matters, right? Something I might have said in October 2022 when Conte was here is inconsequential to December 2025. But we're all so busy on point scoring. But you like him, but you like that player. But you, at the end of the day, if we weren't Spurs fans, this is what I'd ask everyone to do. There's 400 people watching at the moment. If we weren't Spurs fans and we took a step back and actually looked at this Tottenham squad as though it wasn't Tottenham, many fans wouldn't want many of these footballers at this club. And you know how I know that, Lubo? When I ask in polls about Ruben Neves, Conor Gallagher, Rashford, Grealish, our fans say things like, he's not good enough. He's a dead baller. The idiots use that phrase now. He's a dead baller. He's not good enough. He's a scrap. Now, you think they're saying that about players that have played for top football clubs, right? Rashford's been at the top with Man United, right? Gallagher's been the captain of Chelsea Football Club and played for Atletico Madrid, right? Grealish has played for arguably the greatest English team for the last 30, 40 years that won the treble, right? We don't think those players are good enough in the main. But then we'll look at this squad and go, we should be 4th, 5th. And this is the problem. We don't want the honesty. Now, as I've said, just for those at the back, sack the manager, bring in, sure, Frank isn't good enough. Let's go with that theory. Bringing another manager. What are these fans going to do, Lubo, when the performances and the attitude and the lack of fight continues the way it has under Ange, under Frank? What are they going to say then? Oh, this manager's not good enough. Sure, So how does that vicious circle change? How does it change if we are going to be sitting here doing this every 4 months? When are we going to realize that squad has got 4 or 5 probably that we all agree would go, yeah, good player. The rest, really? Are they any better than a Fulham? Are the rest really any better than Palace, than Bournemouth? Don't think they are.
So thank God the fan base isn't picking the team.
Absolutely.
They're not picking the transfer targets. Absolutely. And the other thing I just want to say is that when somebody comes back and say, and it's great, I think interaction with the comments, Sav, I think it's fantastic. Everybody cares enough. You can see that the fans care enough with the comments that are coming through on every single show, because the Spurs fans are a loyal bunch and they love their club. But when a fan comes back and says, oh, I don't rate him because, let them come back and say, right, okay, I wouldn't have him because I prefer him. Let's see, instead of just knocking, I wouldn't have Rashford, I wouldn't have Grealish, who would you want that you think would come in that's correct mentally, that's a tip-top professional, that you know you're going to get 7, 8 out of 10 every single week. It's not going to be, well, I don't fancy this manager like we've got this season, I think probably with some of the players, and they're turning out 3s, 4s and 5 out of 10s. And you've seen, I've just named 8 games out of 26 where we just haven't turned up. That's 30%. We haven't turned 30% of our games. 30% of games where the fans have turned up expecting something, just going, hoping to see something from these players, and they've decided not to turn up. I think it's a disgrace. I think it's an absolute disgrace.
Do you, in your heart of hearts, now, this for me is player and manager, but in your heart of hearts, do you truly believe that those 8 games you mentioned, that had it have been a Xavi Hernandez, who is somebody that people want, or De Zerbi, all 8 of those performances wouldn't have happened? Because we saw loads of these performances under Conte. We saw loads of these performances under Jose. We saw loads of these performances under Nuno and Ange. This isn't strictly a Frank problem. So at what stage, and this comment is absolutely it, at what stage do we get to the root cause?
Well, the root cause is you build a structure, you get the right people in place to bring in the right players, and you only get that's the only way that you can resolve this problem. It's not rocket science. I'm not a genius. That's how the top clubs work. It's all about getting talent into your club, getting the top people into your club. If you've got a structure, which we now seem to be doing, is it the right structure? Are these people the right people? God only knows. Only time will tell. But at least they're putting a structure in there. At least you can look at it and think, do you know what? There's been no structure. Levy's done everything. You know, he's micromanaged this club for 25 years. He's not an expert in football. He had no interest, I've been told, in football prior to that. That's not a problem. That's not a criticism. Not everybody's got to like football. His skill set is elsewhere. But now we've got people who are coming in who are specialists in their field. So hopefully now this will filter down from the top. There will be a desire, a commitment now for success. And hopefully now that, and we come back to it now, we've just been talking about why we are where we are and where it's gone wrong over the last few years.
Lubo's just answered that. Lubo has just spent the last 2 minutes answering the root cause, that there's no structure, there's no plan, there's no identity, there's no philosophy within the football club. He's literally, this is what I mean, Petro. Lubo has literally elegantly sat there calmly and told everybody the root cause, and you've gone, it's not been answered. And I'll ask this, Lubo. As I said, bringing a new manager right now, realistically with this squad, what is everybody hoping with this squad happens with, again, I'll use this guy. We bring in De Zerbi tomorrow, right? What we actually hoping for?
What you're going to get from this squad, with the differing players and mental ability of players and the skill set of players. You're going to get some games you're going to win that you don't expect to win, some you're going to win that you do. Flip it, the same with defeats, and it's going to be a very up and down, inconsistent season. We'll finish mid-table, and that's where we are as a club because of the players that we've got. It's no secret, it's all about players. And until we start bringing in much better players, and hopefully that starts next month, nothing's going to change. That's just the way it is. If you look at the squads of all the top clubs, the top clubs have the best players. It's no secret. That's what it comes down to. And unfortunately, our players just aren't up there at the moment with the, in terms of overall. I'm not talking individually. I'm talking about as a collective, because it is a team game. It's a squad game. So front door's gone again. I'll be 2 minutes. Sorry, no. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, look, and this is what I'm saying is, it feels really impossible with so many people online to actually have the conversation about the bigger picture of the football club. And that's what I want to try and do. That's where I've tried to steer the conversation. We can have the point scoring all we want. This manager, that manager. I get people going, oh, but what did you say under Conte? And you're like, what? What's Conte got to do with anything? How many clubs has he managed since he left Spurs? Like, what are we doing here? But I want to know, for the club we love, what's going to change in the long term. So what is the plan? And this is what we always come back to. What is the structure they're going to put in? If their plan is to bring a manager in, give him 2 permanent signings in one summer, and then sack him after 4 months, then that again tells me there's no plan. It tells me that we're never going to be in it for the long haul. So if that is the case, then bring in who you want. I don't care. Bring in the next manager. But are we going to back that next manager? And so many people can't see past Thomas, Frank, and Ange. Forget their names. The bigger picture is, who are they going to back? Who is the guy they're going to turn around and go, this is our manager through thick and thin for a few years, and we're going to back them. And we're going to allow them to build a squad, right? Because the moment the next manager hits a bumpy road and we win 1 in 7, the same thing is going to happen. The same thing. Fans will convince themselves right now, no, I won't. Not if it's a manager I like. You will. Not with Xavi Hernandez. Yeah, with Xavi Hernandez. If Xavi plays 7 games, if Xavi plays 7 games and wins 1 of them, no one's going to turn around and go, oh, but look what he's implementing with style. We all pretend we will. We all pretend we will. What we will do is use the age-old thing. It's a results-based business. So if it's a results-based business for Ange and for Frank, it's going to be a results-based business for the next manager. And I get that. But if we keep doing that, we are never, ever going to allow ourselves any time to build. Ever. And if people are saying, yeah, but we've tried and it's not worked under Frank, what hasn't worked? What have we had enough time to determine what is working or not? He hasn't even been given a left winger. We haven't got a left winger. We don't even have a proper striker or a left winger or a number 8 at this football club. And we're talking about, well, it's failed. He's not good enough. Cool. Fine. I'll go along with it. But then we've got to apply the same logic to Xavi or Glasner. What if Glasner comes in and goes, right, I'm going to implement the 3-4-3 that I play at Palace, or the wing backs, whatever you want to call it. And we'll go, oh, go on then. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I need 3 or 4 windows to get this player out. No, you don't get 3 or 4 windows, mate. You get 4 months. You get 3 or 4 months, mate. You don't get 3 or 4 windows. And then we sack that manager. The next manager comes in. He's now got 6 to 7 different managers worth of players. Where does this vicious cycle end? So please engage brains before we go. But you said this about Ange and Frank. Forget them. What is the plan of this football club? It's easy to shout Frank out. But the new manager's going to come in and we're all going to go, you know what's going to happen, Lubo? New manager comes in, the first thing, right, who plays left wing this week? Who plays up front? Who plays centre mid? And you know what? It's going to be the same names. Is it Gray? Is it Bergvall? Is it Sarr? Is it Bentancur? It's going to be the same names. So I just don't know how this vicious cycle ends. I just don't know.
Well, hopefully it's ended. Hopefully it's ended with Levy's departure. This is why I wanted him out. This is why, for me, he has ruined not just him. I think Joe Lewis didn't help. He left Levy to get on with the day-to-day running. This is why I wanted him out so badly, because this hasn't been run as a football club. It's been run just for their pockets. There's been no strategy. There's been no forward planning whatsoever. Now, hopefully, we're starting to get there. But Frank has inherited a mess. Is Frank the right person? Is he going to take us to the promised land? Who knows? I wouldn't write my name against that. I wouldn't die on a hill for him. I just want him to have the opportunity to see how he does. You know, managers come in, and it's amazing how fickle fans are. Last year, Eddie Howe was the top man in Newcastle. Now on social media, since the Sunderland defeat, they're all having a pop at him. But he's been given time. He's won trophies. He walked into, again, another situation where there probably wasn't the planning that there should have been. But he was given a chance. You know, he came from Bournemouth and Burnley. He hadn't won anything previously, you know, not any major trophies. But he was given an opportunity, and that's sort of governed, that sort of moved the way I was thinking regarding Frank. Give him a chance. Football hasn't been great, hasn't been good lately. But you know what? If we're going to get through this period where we haven't had a proper organised football club for 25 years, maybe even longer. You know, I can't remember studying the way Sugar ran the club the way that I have since Enoch. And that was probably since 2007, when Levy totally disrespected me at an AGM, shareholders AGM that I went to, and I realised then we have a chairman here that couldn't give a toss about the fans and couldn't give a toss about the club. And nothing has changed. Now, hopefully, we're getting a structure in place, and hopefully, Joe Lewis's kids saw what happened with Bilbao, saw 220,000 turning up on a Friday night within, you know, with less than 48 hours notice for the parade, realised what a massive club this is. And hopefully now we're on an upward trajectory. Fingers crossed. Let's end on I've got no more to say on this. I'm just going to say
no, absolutely. And
I just want to end on a positive note. The playing squad.
We are going to wrap up. We are going to wrap up. I mean, just quickly, and Andy, absolutely, Andy. This is the thing for people who said about what Savva said about previous manager. I also did say, all of this at the beginning of the season, that we haven't recruited well, and this was my worry. So when people were telling me it was good, I genuinely think now all the conversations we're having before every game are constantly going back to everything I said in the summer. Right, who plays up front? Who plays in central midfield? Who plays left wing? Because you know what? We didn't buy players. We didn't buy what was needed. This for me is the infuriating thing. We had a whole summer to go, and we wasted it with 2 permanent signings and 2 loans. There was room for more signings. We spent 110 million on signings.
If you include Takai's £5 million loan fee, we spent 112 million.
Right. And you know what?
New players. I'm not talking about on
of
new
course.
Players.
And I'm going to say the same thing again in the January or summer. If we if we don't get what we need, I'm going to be saying the same thing. So when people go, yeah, you wanted Frank, I did want Frank, but I also want Frank to be given players and time. I didn't say Frank would come in and ta-da. And this is why we are going to wrap up in 3 minutes. This is why, Lubo, when people talk to you about you wanted Frank gutted, yes, I not once said that Frank would come in and be a miracle worker. Said Frank will need time. And people miss that bit out. Frank will need time. He will need patience. Change Frank's name with anybody else who joins this club, and I will have the same opinion. They will need time. They will need patience. Right? The only one in the last few years that's had more than 18 months is Ange. 2 years. He's the only one that's had more than 18 months since Poch. Jose had, 18 months. Conte had 18 months. Nuno had 4 months. Ange has then had 2 years, and now Frank's had 4 months. Surely we're seeing a pattern here that none of these managers have got a chance to build something. And when people go, I've not seen anything, I don't expect to see a lot if you don't change. You've got to change. You've got to change. So for me, sack him, don't sack him, whatever. If they sack him right now, welcome to the new manager. Hello, hope you do well. But my opinion of him will be exactly the same. I won't expect a lot until they give him what he needs.
Yeah, very simple 2-line comment from Sue Smith. I'm glad Levy is gone, but Viv and Charlie Lewis have much to prove. Absolutely. I'm sure they know that as well. I'm sure they know that as well. This is and you know what? They're doing something about it because they're putting a structure in place.
Well, yeah, and that's great. But the transfer windows will show us what they mean. It won't be the structure. It will be putting the transfer windows in place. And we need to see green shoots this January. It's not going to be mind-blowing, but we need to see green shoots. Yeah. That's all I want to see. Next, in this window, if we go and buy in a position where we are strong, if we go and buy a right winger where we got Kudus, I will question it. If we go and buy a centre-half when we've got Romero and Van de Ven, I will question it. Let's start looking at the gaps. Let's start looking at the listen, when silly people come in, you're just going to get blocked, mate. You've just been blocked. No one's going to find a video of me anywhere, Lubo, going, get Frank in the first 6 months. He's going to turn us into a brilliant team. What I've said is he's a coach that will need time and his players and transfer windows. What has he not had? Time and players and transfer windows. That's not Frank. That's whoever it is. People need to decipher the difference between me sticking up for Frank and what the club needs.
And I think in terms of time, forget about, Klopp took 4 years before he won the Champions League, I think, and 5 years before he won the league. Pep came into a City team that had plenty of investment, so we can't include him. Arteta, he's been there 6 years now. He's brought in there are 23 players out of his squad of 26 that were on the back page of that programme that he's either bought or brought through from the academy.
Yep.
And it's taken him 6 years to get into a position now. Personally, I think a better manager would have bought a centre forward that would have won in the league by now.
I agree.
But he's now put himself in a position with the backing that he's had from the board in the last transfer window. That he's now pretty much got virtually 2 players for every position. And if they don't win it this year, I don't think they'll ever win it. But it's taken him 6 years to get to a squad this strong. And I'm just comparing us to Arsenal purely because the squad that we've got, which is a bit of a mishmash, is the same sort of level as the squad that he inherited 6 years ago.
No, agreed. Look, the last thing I'll say is this. Look, I hope they don't sack him because I want to see him backed and then we can judge him. However, Lubo, I've watched football many years, as have you, and we know how this works. We know that a big defeat against Liverpool could see the end of him. And fine, we move on. But you know what will happen? We'll sack him, and then all it will be for weeks and weeks is that gutted your manager. I don't care. If we sack this manager now, I genuinely don't care, because it will show again that the board have got no plan. It will. They've spent 17 million to get him.
Yeah.
In essence, they're going to have to spend another 12.5 to sack him, plus his staff, which will probably be another 4 or 5 million, right? Plus, if you're going to go and get another manager, you're looking at 40 million pounds. Imagine we did that every year. Imagine we sacked and hired every year at 40 million pounds. So look, do what we want. Do what you want at the football club. Support how you want. But I can always tell those people that have got critical thinking versus that just shout. Right? People going, he's a coach. Who's he coached? Lubo, how many players get better in the space of 3-4 months of a season? It takes time. It takes a system. It takes consistency. It takes fluidity. It takes time. And we don't want that. But I'll have loads of people turn up and go, you said he was a coach. These people don't know what a coach does. These people don't understand the role of a football coach in a football club. They don't get it. They think he just pulls one player to the side and goes, right, this 3 months is you. It's everything. It's everything. It all. So look, I don't care. I'm not wedded to him. But at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need the midfield. That needs to be gutted and changed as well. And sack him. Don't sack him. Cool. I'll sit here next week with Lubo. If he's sacked this week because we get battered by Liverpool, I'll sit here this time next week with Lubo going, all right, who's the next guy coming in? We're going to ask all the same questions, Lubo. Is he going to be backed? What positions does he need? How long are we going to give him? And then in 4 months' time, but he's had 16 games and he's only won 6 of them. Oh, no, he needs to go. Right, Lubo, I'm going to leave it there. Just quickly, I need to do some super chats. Big up to Dean Law. So big up, Savva. Have a great Christmas. And to you, Dean. So thanks for the great content during the year. Good health for 2026. Right back at you, my man. Thank you very much. It doesn't take a lot for people to be nice, does it? And say nice things rather than constantly always trolling. Big up to you, Dean. Thank you so much, buddy. Big up to the Aussie Frank lover. Always with the super stickers. Loves it. Big up to you, my man. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate you, buddy. Big up to Paul Langley as well. So good morning, gents. Good morning to you. Good afternoon. Much love to you, Paul. Thank you so much for your support. Andy Lester said, big up, Sam. I've been super busy with work this time of the year. Lucky you. Can you put this towards your Help the Homeless Day, please? Great cause. Happy Christmas to you and the family and all of your community. Yes, Monday, we are going into town. Hand out hot drinks, food, blankets, jumpers. So far, only one person has said they're going to join me. One. We'll see who else does. Big up to you. Thank you so much, Andy. Appreciate you. He's come back in again and said, let's see who the club can bring in to help Frank. Hopefully. Big up to TFC who said, who do these kids have to learn from? Exactly. Give them senior pros to learn from. Big up to you, my man. Thank you so much, Jordan. Always very generous. Said big clubs going to transfer window looking to sign players that improve them no matter what the cost. Spurs go into the transfer window to stand still. And when you stand still, you end up going backwards. Absolutely. And that's what I think we did in the last window. Everyone raved about it. We literally just replaced players. We didn't add on. Big up to you, Jordan. Really appreciate you, my man. You're coming again. So generous. Said VDV, Kudus and Paulinho. The only ones I would keep from this squad. Romero for me can stay, but I wouldn't be devastated if he left. And I've named just 4 players from our entire squad. Mate, that's my worry. That's my worry is that outside of this 4 or 5 we always talk about, I genuinely don't care if any of them leave. I've got no affiliation to them. I don't think they're that good. And it's not the level of player we're used to seeing at this club. Big up to you, Jordan. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Leslie's Knee says thoughts on Van de Ven talking about top 4 and Romero trophy. I mean, Van de Ven.
The latest odds, Sav? I've just seen the latest odds for our next manager. Glasner 5s. Marco Silva is 8, as is Brendan Rodgers and Iriola. Down from 200 to 1 to 10 to 1. This is a joke. Jurgen Klopp. De Zerbi at 12, Carrick at 12, Xavi Hernandez at 14.
Fine. Are we backing any of them? Bring in any one of them you want. Are we backing? Do you know what? Bring in Brendan Rodgers. Bring him in. Let's bring in Brendan Rodgers.
No thanks.
Just
No thanks.
well, listen, it doesn't matter though. If we're only giving them 4 months, it doesn't matter. Thoughts on VDV? I mean, VDV talking about the top 4. He can say they want top 4, but he'll know deep down this is not a top 4 squad. And him and Romero winning the trophy, it depends which way you look at it, right? We all knew that Ange's tactics weren't going to win it. If they've gone to him and said, we need to change to win it, fair play to them. I'll let other people debate Ange on that. I'm so bored of talking about Ange Postecoglou. I'm so bored, but thank you very much. Lubo, thank you so much for your time this morning, my man. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Let's see who's live that we can send you over to. Oh, no, that's not today. Hang on, where are we? What show am I doing right now? Why is that not changing? Oh, you know when you... Sorry, bear with me 1 second, people. For some reason, my content doesn't want to flick through. I won't be able to send you anywhere because... Oh, no, I will. Hang on, live. Here we go. No, I won't be able to send you anywhere. My YouTube is playing up. So much love, people. Take care. Thank you to everybody. Watch along tomorrow evening. And then Spurs review Sunday night. And then Monday we'll be doing the charity drop. Much love. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs.